Good morning, Raptor freaks. Lexi Out's here. It's Monday morning. The Raptors lost on Easter Sunday to the Boston Celtics. And I was pretty disappointed. Yeah, I was. You know, this is the end of the season. This isn't the beginning of the season. This isn't the middle of the season. This is the end of the season. This is the stretch run. This is to finish the season off strong. This is the time of the year to show all you've learned and how much you've gelled and how high level you can be as a team, and you're supposed to show your best. You're supposed to be playing all out because you have very important things to play for right now. In some ways, I've said in the last week or so that they're the acrobat on the tightrope walking with no net, and they can't afford to have a mistake because it's fatal. And, maybe I had too much of a high aspiration that, a Raptors team would go above and beyond and beat a team that they're not supposed to beat yesterday. Maybe that wasn't realistic, and I find it isn't because of how I feel now. But maybe I was used to all those years of Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan and Pascal Siakam and Nick Nurse, where there's just a certain level of compete and like, yeah, we're going to do something here because we're like this. That edge in the Raptors team is missing. We don't have Kyle Lowry. We don't have quality control we want to beat their ass because they beat us 3 times this year already, and we have the last chance to beat them this year today. This is a problem. This is a problem because they're never, ever going to be successful if they don't figure this out. And if you're not a serious team, Raptors, well, we'll just go ahead and see your outcome for the rest of this year. And we'll just we'll have to figure it out in the summer with Bobby on how to fix things, because I don't feel like y'all are serious enough. I don't think y'all care enough. I don't think y'all were responsible enough in your approach to the game yesterday and what exactly it takes to beat the Boston Celtics in Boston on their own home court. I don't think you guys fully grasp this, or if you do, you don't care and you're not doing it, because y'all did not play well yesterday. Y'all played half-assed. Y'all played lazy. Y'all watched as other people around the court did things. You stood there and watched them go get the rebounds. Kata, y'all should have been going to get the rebounds yourself. Y'all didn't care about engaging in your offense correctly. How the hell did none of our guys score enough points to get 20 points? How the hell did 4 Celtics outscore all of our teams individually with their totals that they put up? We expected from Brown and Tatum. They've been pillars of showing up and doing the things to help Boston Celtics win for like a decade now. And that's something we want. We want Scotty plus RJ to be a decade-long partnership that gets like maybe in 5 years where they're like Tatum and Brown. That would be nice, wouldn't it? That's what we need. So you can pencil them in. They're going to get their points. They're going to get their 20 plus. Then you got Kata, who's just dominating, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Nobody's boxing out Kata. What the fuck are y'all doing letting Kata do this? Outscoring all y'all, RJ, Brandon, and Scotty. And then the guy that they said, remember his name yesterday, Pritchard, late doing the closing work, executing the closing work, and he outscores our leading scorer on our team also. So 4 Boston Celtics had higher point totals than anybody on the Raptors team. That's not how you compete, Raptors. That's not how you fucking compete. You need to be like, this is my counterpoint on the other side. This is my counterpart. This is the person I have to beat head to head. Jaylen Brown, Scotty. Okay, well, this is how the old school superstars used to do it, Scotty Barnes, is they used to look and say, how many does he have? Well, I got to get more than him. That's math. That's how games in basketball are supposed to work. Michael's got 23. Well, I need to go get 25, Reggie Miller. It's that kind of shit. You guys are not taking this task personally enough. That's the problem. Brandon Ingram, I don't know. You may be a lost cause, guy. You're 10 years into your career, and teaching an old dog new tricks of competition and not being lackadaisical and giving a shit, maybe a lost cause with you, BI, because honestly, you're not trying half the time. There were 2 times out there I saw Scotty and Brandon each bust their ass to go get a loose ball. Just twice in the game last night. Oh, that's what it looks like when they actually run after the ball when it's loose and go hunt it down and take it. Oh, I saw you do that, Scott, late in the game in the second half. There's Scotty running after the ball to go get it, to get possession for us. Oh, there's Brandon doing it once in the whole entire game there too. Well, Brandon actually got up off his ass and chased down a loose ball right there. Wow, they can do it. They told on themselves that you can actually see them. If they want to go get the ball, they can fucking go get the ball if they want to go get it. But they're standing around being observers most of the time. What's going on here? Looking around, watching the game. You might as well buy a ticket, sit at courtside, Scotty Barnes, and be an observer of the basketball game, and being a passenger, a cardio merchant. Run around. I'm playing in basketball. I'm in Boston. I'm playing. Yeah, but are you fucking playing? No, you're not. Kata hit you in the solar plexus. Oof. Oh. You're going to lament for that for 5 minutes. Take yourself out of the game. Let the Celtics start going. Instead, toughen it up. And saying, that motherfucker just hit me in the stomach. I need to fucking dunk it on his head. That's the proper response, Scott. It's not whining to the rest going, oh, he hit me. Did you see him? Taking yourself out of the game in the first quarter. Being soft. Acting soft. Just because a man from Portugal hit you in the stomach. What the fuck, Scott? You're the leader. You set the tone. And if you ain't got no urgency and you're doubling over, like, you're fucking the horrible leader at that then. Like, what the fuck, Scott? I know it probably hurt. You had to go to the back. Yeah. I get all that. But what did you do? You acted like a child in the corner. Oh, mommy, he hurt me. Instead of saying, oh, you motherfucker, you hurt me. I'm going to fuck you up. Because that's the proper response, Scott. You get hit by Nemes Kata. You come back and you get him back. And you don't have to hit him. You go and dunk on him. You outscore him. You beat his ass. You got to get competitive. You got to be like, that motherfucker just hit me. In a dirty ass way. Oh, motherfucker, I'm going to get you now. That's the mindset, Scott. But no, if you're going to be like, oh, he hurt me. Whine to Nick Bookert. Whine to James Williams. Oh, they don't give a shit. That was the plan. Ooh, Joe Mazzulla probably said, hey, Kata, give Scotty a cheap shot early in the game, and he'll fucking puss out for the rest of the game. Watch. Yeah, it's fucking bullshit. You know, Scotty, the last time you won in Boston was the first game you ever won in the NBA. Did you know that? You have not won in Boston in 5 years. You beat the Boston Celtics in the second game you ever played in your NBA career on their own court. But you had men like Van Vliet, Siakam, and Anunoby standing next to you. And they showed you how to do it in your first win in your NBA career. Y'all played the first game. You lost in the opening game in Toronto against Cleveland. And then you went to Boston and you got your first ever NBA victory. That's the only time you've ever won in Boston. And you have not won in Boston since. That was in 2021, Scott. That was 5 years ago. Have some fucking pride. Seriously, what the fuck are you doing, Scott? Wasting your life. You have not won there since your first ever NBA victory in a regular season game in the NBA. How long has time passed since then? I've been doing this channel this whole time. This is 4 years, 5 years, 5 years in September. That's what it's going to be. It's pathetic, man. It's pathetic. If y'all don't care, y'all don't care. Y'all don't want to play right. Y'all don't want to play right. Y'all don't have urgency. You don't see the standings. You don't see how fucked up the situation is right now that you're in. You don't have the urgency. Well, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. And in some ways, once I said, all right, let's not get it twisted. Lex is going to still say this is a successful year. This is a positive year. It's just that y'all crap out at the end of the season and you don't really do the best that you can. Because look, what did you work towards all year long to be crappy at this point? You've had 4 shots at the Celtics this year. Then you should have learned something from the first 3 times to do the 4th time. You should have pride like Lowry to say, fuck that. We're not getting swept by the Celtics this year, guys. That's what Lowry would have done yesterday. That's what he would have fucking said. He said, fuck this. We're not getting swept by the Celtics. We're coming out to fucking beat their ass on their home court on Easter Sunday. But y'all come out there with a half-ass effort, not getting after loose balls, not getting after rebounds, passing half-ass. Oh, here's Sandro. Here's a flaky-ass pass at the top of the key. Oh, they just ran and took it, run the other way. Y'all gonna play a lower level of intensity. You're gonna get exposed. And you're going to get shown that you're not a serious basketball team. And you're not a team that's ready to compete at the highest level to beat the best teams in the league because you don't take care of the sacredness of basketball and understanding the responsibility of the duty of what you're supposed to be doing in the 48 minutes of a 4-quarter game. You guys did not show up correctly yesterday. Y'all needed urgency. Y'all needed to outwork them. Y'all needed to fight. Y'all needed to compete. And it's not competing when your whole starting lineup with these plethora of great scores, their highest score is 16 points. What the fuck is that? And don't tell me, oh, it's their cheap shotting us and we're not netting fouls. You can't rely on Nick Booker and Shea Flores and James Williams to put you on the line to get points. No, you need to go in there and be big boys and make the shots. Brandon Ingram, you can have a little false, I'm going to try and take over the game in the 4th quarter and score 3 straight times down the court. Where the fuck was that in the 1st quarter? That's what I'm saying. You go wait till then? Oh, I'm going to come in. I'll hit a couple mid-range now. Okay, too little, too late, B.I. You need to fucking start that shit in the 1st quarter if you want to run with the Celtics and beat them. You need to do that shit from the start. Y'all aren't serious. So I guess Raptors Freak needs to just take a step back and not be so serious about y'all. Because you ain't going to be serious. Then why should I be so serious? People will be like, why are you being so mean to them today, Lex? Why are you being so mean to them? Because, listen, this is not the 4th game of the season. This is the 5th to the last game of the season. And this is the runway to the playoffs. And they ain't showing me that they're playoff ready in any kind of way. They didn't play. This was not a playoff intensity game. I'm sorry. It was not. This was a poorly played game for the most part in the beginning. Both teams were not playing well. They gave us an opportunity because the Celtics were not their best yesterday. That was an opening y'all could have took if y'all had executed on it and beat them. Their chance was there, but y'all didn't play well either. And that's the problem right there. This is eye of the tiger shit. Rising up to the challenge of your rivals. And the challenge was an Easter Sunday afternoon game in Boston in front of that hostile crowd. And you did not meet the challenge, Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram. No, you didn't. No, you did not. And I'm pissed off. You see that Jalen and Jason did? Jason just came back. He hasn't had all season to work and get to a high level of play. Meanwhile, they're over there. You know, you could play damn good defense on Jaylen Brown. Y'all play perfect defense on that possession. You and Jacoby, Scotty Barnes. You covered him up real nice, and then you saw him hit that corner 3 over you, and you couldn't do a damn thing about it. That's another level, Scott. That's another level that you're not even anywhere close to as a player to be able to be in this league like that. Then you put your hands up like this, like, what do you do against that? Yeah, that's because that is a real superstar. That is a real team leader. And that is somebody who knows how far and above and beyond you have to go to compete in this league and be successful. Because he shouldn't have made that shot, should he have? No. But because he's like that, he made that 3 over your head at the buzzer of the shot clock. That is the shit that you guys need. You need that kind of shit. You need to try harder. You need to play harder. You need to get after those loose balls better. You need to help Yak with the rebounds because this shit is fucked up. And this whole Scotty's wearing 3 hats at once while he's playing needs to stop because he's not doing anything correctly right except mishmashing himself over 3 different areas without doing any of them correctly. You need to do either 1 or 2. You cannot do 3. And those are point guard, scorer, and best defender. You need to do 2 of them. You cannot be the point forward to start the game. We need Shed in there. And that's the one you least need to do because we have lots of playmaking. Scotty does not need to be point guard Scotty. Scotty needs to be in the block, turning his back to the basket, turning around and making shots over people's heads and dunking on them. Because I'm going to say the truth right here. The Raptors had the size advantage last night, and they should have won because they had the size advantage. We could have bullied the hell out of them, but they got more rebounds and points to paint. How the fuck does that happen? Because our offensive scheme is not feeding people like Pirtle and Scotty correctly the whole game so that they can dominate the Celtics with their size. We did see it a bit in the third quarter after they came back from half. Darko probably talked to them, said, look, you guys are bigger than them. Why don't you just go inside and dominate them inside? And then we saw some two-man game with Pirtle and Barnes to open the second half. And it was successful. We saw them getting off each other, playing back and forth, and boom, easy layups, easy baskets inside the lane. Why didn't you set the table with that at the beginning of the game? Why didn't you start dominating them from the beginning of the game? Why don't you know this? Why are y'all so scared of physicality, Scott? You're going to hang out outside, shoot threes, when you can fucking back down Sam Hauser and eat him for lunch? Like, what the fuck, Scott? You're the big boy, aren't you? There were a couple years ago, I watched you playing Twitch, playing the 2K, saying, big babies, I'm going to put you in the lane, and I'm going to beat up on big babies in the corner and in the basket. Yeah, you used to take those little babies on your back and dunk on their heads. Well, you did that on a video game. You can do that in real life. Fucking take the little babies down low and dunk on their heads. You can do that whenever you want. But maybe you're like, man, I'm tired. I don't want to feel physicality. I don't want to go in there and mix it up with the Celtics. They're going to push me and punch me in the stomach and do all that kind of shit. No, Scott, you need to fucking go in there and take the fray. Take the physicality and play through it and execute through it and make it. In some ways, that rookie from South Carolina is doing it better than you right now. As far as not being afraid, going in there in the fire and dunking it on people and being physical down low. Charles Murray-Boyles. That's right, Colin Murray-Boyles. Yeah, in some ways, that rookie, you could learn something from him, Scott, about not shying away from physicality, going to the basket and making big boy hoops. Even if there's people hanging on your arms and doing shit like that. I'm sick of it. In some ways, I had a higher standard for y'all for yesterday. Because back in the day, when we had Kyle Lowry, that higher standard would be met because they knew the gravity and the just the importance of this fucking game that y'all played yesterday. You know, do you want the playoffs or the play-in? That's what you tell yourself. These are all the stakes in the world. All the stakes in the world to show, yeah, this should motivate you. This should make you urgent. This should make you move your ass and get after the ball 130%. No, you guys are going to come out there and play Brandon Ingram, lazy eye, half-stoned fucking basketball. Brandon, if you're smoking marijuana before the game, stop. Seriously. I don't smoke before I do the show. I damn for sure smoke. I smoke a lot, but I don't smoke before I come on the show. So you should be smoking before you play an Easter Sunday game against the Celtics in Boston. Because sometimes, man, I don't want to make allegations. And if I'm completely wrong, I apologize. I feel bad. But, man, in some ways, I'm feeling like you're half-baked when you show up like Dave Chappelle. Because this fucking shit is bullshit. I'm sick of this lackadaisical shit. I'm sick of y'all not taking care of the ball like it's a sacred little baby that you need to protect from the ugly-ass green monsters. What the fuck is this, Raptors? Why'd you even play this whole season? If you're going to make your body work up to this point, what it looked like out there yesterday. Seriously, you're supposed to progress and show improvement over the year. They're asking Darko after the game, how do you feel about how they're closing the gap with the Celtics in competition? And Darko say, I think we've done really good this year. Bullshit, Darko. Your team is just as far away from competing with the Celtics correctly as they were the first time they played them the first time this year. Bullshit. Y'all aren't any closer with the gap with them. Because honestly, and people can see this, they can see that Coach Joe and the Celtics run things right and do things fundamentally correctly and have a standard and a culture that makes them win. We don't have that. We have lackadaisical, oh, it's okay. No, we'll figure it out. Bullshit. I'm sick of this shit. You guys want to win in the NBA? You got to take it to another level and treat it more sacred. And actually, like, what the fuck? You have every reason in the world to want to win this game because there's so many things that you need to win it for the reasons. And y'all fucking roll over like a dog and whine and cry about getting punched in the gut instead of manning up and taking it back at them. I'm telling you, it's soft. Scotty, you're soft. That's what I'm going to call you right now. In some ways, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, those for before you, they would take that at challenge like Rocky, and they say, yeah, motherfucker, you punched me in the stomach. We're coming back and getting you now. We're going to win. I'm sick of this, man. RJ can only do so much with trying to carry things for Toronto, being a Toronto kid. He can only do too much. He was playing too hard. He's shooting the shot too hard. He'd get up close, and it was too hard. It'd go off the back of the rim instead of going in. You know? Oh, it's driving me nuts. All right, I'm going to check out y'all's comments. Yeah, I did my little, I guess it was 20-minute rant to start. I mean, there's more I'll add to it. There's little nitpicky things I want to point out about the game, and I'm sure I'll remember. And then also, we got all kinds of other stuff. That's not all bad news. I have compiled a list after losing the game, and once the game goes like that, I have to switch off from Raptors completely. And I'm not like, I'm not fucking thinking about that game anymore. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my Easter Sunday. I'll eat my mini ham. I'll do what I do. And what I did was I compiled the statistics for the stars of the game for the 905 season. So I'm going to present to you my 905 rankings for the past season that Raptors 905 played as the most important stars for the whole entire year for Raptors 905 and Drew Jones. So we got that to look forward to. We got the straight goods on Canadian goods. We got the birthdays. We got the classic card. Yeah, and we'll do some news also. We'll do some news. You know what? I need to get my Reddit page up real quick. I didn't put Reddit up. Reddit is important because honestly, I like Reddit. I'm using Reddit more than Instagram and Facebook now in some ways to get my information. Because in some ways it's like, yeah, the Instagram is still pretty good in some ways. It's just bleh. All right, let me see. Where is the one I wanted to pick? No. There was one poster. Here we go. This is the Raptors Redder of the day. Yeah, we're going to use this one. Let's see. Which one do we want to close? Doesn't matter. All right. So, yeah, let me see what y'all are saying in the chat. I see we got a lot of people here already. Trevor J, words of wisdom from the Commissioner of Fun. Thank you, Trevor. I hope you're having a fantastic Monday morning so far. The day after Easter, and hopefully everybody had great Easter celebrations, full of joy, family, and just happiness. Trevor's saying this: your mind is a battlefield. If you don't control your thoughts, somebody else will control your life. Feed your brain power. Feed your brain power. Man, we need punctuation sometimes. Block the noise and think bigger than your circumstances. I like that. I've always been somebody to say, like, make the best of what's going on. Some things you can't control. The biggest thing for an alcoholic like me is the serenity prayer. And that's basically understanding what you can and cannot control. And when you cannot control something, you need to let it go and just say, yeah, I can't control whether the Raptors show up correctly and play with urgency against the Celtics. So I need to let it go. I know a lot of people thought I was crashing out on the Discord yesterday because I was so critical, and it's different energy from me. I know that was different energy from me yesterday, but that was the stakes of the game. And that was the whole context of like, look, this is 5 games to go in the season. What the fuck are y'all doing? It's the last week of the season. You need to be playing your asses off, because if you're not careful, if you don't play your asses off, you're going to be sitting at home or going to the beaches as sooner than you thought. And that's the thing that I don't like. In some ways, I was holding a standard of excellence and execution that they needed to do to be able to win. I said that yesterday, Bret Hart. In some ways, there has to be an excellence of execution in what you do against the Celtics if you want to have a chance to win. And during the game, I was explaining all the different areas where they were fucking up, where they weren't keeping up with the Celtics to be able to do that. And some people, took me as being overly critical and maybe a little bit crazier than usual. Yeah, that's because I really wanted this one. And I think they should have really wanted it as much as I did. because it seems like maybe I wanted that win against the Celtics more than the Raptors actually did. And that's messed up. That's messed up. Yeah, that's true, man. You want to watch what you curate to your news feed and different algorithms that are fed to us. That's just a part of life now. If there's a news feed on Facebook or whatever app you're using that's making you feel angry or upset, you got to stop looking at it. Pay attention to your reactions because they're trying to tailor your reactions to engagement, and you can opt out at any time. Just stop going to those sites. There very much is an algorithm on Facebook right now that is supposed to make you angry, that is supposed to make you want to click more. That is the whole business of social media engagement at this point, is clicks and getting people agitated or engaged. And usually one of the ways to do it is to post something that you don't like, that'll piss you off. So understand it's very manipulative. And what you feed your brain from online is very, very important today, because they are trying to feed you bullshit and get you pissed off. And you need to understand that. And if you have it all figured out, then you can limit what you're looking at that'll piss you off. So stuff like that. This is so important in today's world, these words of wisdom that Trevor Jay's talking about right now. You may not even understand how subconsciously they're controlling you through the algorithms on your social media platforms. Yeah. You don't even know, because look, how do these things mysteriously show up on your feed? They are cultivating that shit and tailoring it for you. Yeah, because they know so much about you. They're going to figure out what presses your buttons. That's right. All right. Blessings to the Jones family, all the Raptor Freak families. Yeah. Jimmy Pope, good morning to you, Jimmy. So happy to see Jimmy on this morning. He's the Pope of positivity. Let's go see what he has to say. Hopefully it's positive. We'll see. People giving Yak a hard time. At one point in the fourth, he had 14, and Scott and BI had less than 10. People talking about rebounds when he's battling multiple people at once with the team watching. I saw too many occasions where we lost the rebound with a 3-on-1 advantage. Yeah, Kata go get the rebound, and 3 Raptors are standing next to him. I saw that, and this is part of what was pissing me off. And 3 games in now a row, Duran, Precious, and now Kata are taking advantage of bad defensive game plans. Why are we having Yak with back problems on a high screen coverage? Let him play drop coverage. Yeah, this is stuff that pisses me off too. There's a couple things with our defense that has not been right that I've totally disagreed with for most of the season. And some of it's the switching. I hate how they so easily switch the big to the small. And you have Shed guarding Kata all of a sudden on a roll. I know that's by design for the Celtics to get that matchup, but why are we giving it to them? Why can't we fight through and keep the big on the big and the small on the small? That's a big problem. And then, yeah, the one that Jimmy's mentioning here, I've never understood why Jakob's playing defense around the 3-point line. We've been seeing that a lot this year. That don't make no fucking sense. Why the hell is he outside on defense? That's not where he should be. He's a center. Why is he out there guarding like he's a guard on the perimeter? It's totally pissing me off. There is a lot of Raptors Nation coming heavy at Jakob Poeltl right now. And we're not going to be that part of that nation, because in some ways, Jacoby said it after the game. In the post-game interview, Jacoby Walters said it's not Yak's fault. We need to help Yak. That's what he said. He said that himself, Walter, after the game. It's like people can look at this and think it's Yak's fault, but it's not Yak's fault. It's all of us need to gang rebound better and help him and go get the rebounds, including myself. So, a lot of people are mad at Poeltl, and this is once again the effect of our haters coming in and sticking the knife in us when we're down and making it even worse by trying to add voices of dissension and negativity towards players that are absolutely crucial and important to our team. Poeltl, it's not Poeltl's fault. Like Jimmy's saying, it's not Poeltl's fault, like Jacoby's saying, but a lot of nephews and casuals and Raptors Nation are saying that it is today. This is a really good couple of comments by Jimmy here. He's got this exactly right. There's some sort of adjustment the coaches need to do to stop this madness that's happened with Duran, Precious, and Kata. And this is the thing. This is so stupid, because in the last game we played Boston, Kata did the same damn thing. And we didn't adjust or figure it out from that last time. Hello, all the assistant coaches of the Toronto Raptors. Where's your fucking memory and your ideas from the last game and watching the tape and understanding this is Nemes Keita of Portugal. I mean, Mary, you'd coach him. What the fuck, Mary Andrade? You coach Keita on Portugal because you're Portuguese, the two of y'all. You're friends. I saw y'all hugging after the game. Mary, are you not telling the Raptors something about Nemes Keita because you love him because he's a national team friend and a countryman? Is that what's going on here, Mary? Do you have the secret recipe to stop Nemes, but you won't share it with Darko because you're staying true to Portugal? I mean, what the fuck is this? Seriously. Normally, it's like, this is how they beat us last game. Well, let's shore up this, and we'll make sure this doesn't happen this game. But that shit didn't happen. Keita feasted once again. And as Jimmy said, he got rebounds in the lane with 3 red shirts around him, and he's the only green one down there. It's like, what the fuck? Is he that good? No. It's just y'all need to put a body into them. You're playing soft, Scott. You're playing soft. You don't want to play physical. You want to play Bargnani and Bosch style? Fuck that shit. You need to play Oakley style. You need to play Oakley style. You can't be playing no Bosch style. We don't need no Chris Bosch softness down near the basket. We need Charles Oakley down there, motherfucker. And stop being so soft, Scott. I hate that I can say you're soft because of what you did yesterday. You're soft, Scott. You're playing soft. You're softy. You know, that whole Patrick Beverly comment about not having dogs. In some ways, I wonder how dog are you, Scott? Seriously, are you a dog? Are you willing to get out there and sacrifice, get on the floor like Jamal Shed? Are you willing to put the team on your shoulders like RJ Barrett single-handedly and try and will your team to scores when they're having such a stagnant time? No, you're not. You're more likely to stand around just like you used to accuse Lloyd of being a cardio merchant on 2K. You stand around, be a cardio merchant yourself now and watch everything. Oh, it's just too much. I'm supposed to pass it. I'm supposed to score. I'm supposed to guard Jaylen Brown. It's too much. Too many hats. Too many responsibilities. That's what Darko said at one point. He said, if you be in this league, you have to be good at one thing for sure. If you're good at 2 things, that's great. But if you're good at 3 things, that's a problem because that's too much. Well, that's too much, Darko. Scotty's got too many hats. So put one of the hats up. And I'm telling you, it's the point guard hat. You know, the passing's great and all that stuff is flashy and the kids love it. But that's not the one that we need him to do the most. We need him on defense first and foremost on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And then we need him to score. I'm sick of this shit. He's the best scorer on our team. It's not Brandon. Brandon's not reliable. Brandon can get all these open shots in the first half, and he doesn't give a shit about making them. He's not trying to execute. Oh, I shot it. Oh, I didn't make it. Okay. I don't care. You know, it's not Brandon. It's you, Scotty. You know, RJ is not as talented as you. RJ is not as money as you. He can try. He can be that guy, but it should be you, Scott. It should be you leading scorer for the Raptors because you're the most powerful offensive weapon on our team, and us not using you in that way or going to you or giving you many touches or giving you so many shots is a really fucking fail. Honestly, we're wasting our lives because we're not putting the ball in Scotty's hands and telling him to score it. But no, he wants to be unselfish. He wants to pass to everybody else and do all this and defer from himself and get like 8 points. Like, what the fuck is that, Scott? Seriously, don't you understand how powerful you are on offense, how good you are on offense, and how much that is what is needed to win is scoring? Once again, Scott, I'll say this. You should be looking at the leading scorer on the other side of the other game and saying, I have to outscore this guy. Brandon, you should be saying the same thing. Oh, Jason Tatum's back. Oh, yeah, I've been playing him for years. I want to outscore him. Where is that competition? Where is that will to want to beat the Celtics and saying just simply, it's like, well, the number one score for them versus the number one score for us, who's going to score more points? That all is math. It's hello, math adds up. And if you want to beat them, you have to outscore their best players, right? You have to take it on and say, we're playing Jaylen and Jason today. And RJ and I are going to outscore the two of them combined. Me and Scotty and RJ. We're going to outscore them. And that's how we're going to beat them. We're going to outscore them. That's math. That's basketball, right? Isn't it? Isn't it? When you're playing one-on-one with your kid brother in the driveway, how do you win that game? You don't win it if you don't score less than them. If you score less than them, you don't win, do you? So what the fuck are y'all doing? You can't score. You got to go get points. How come none of y'all got 20 points yesterday? Like, what are y'all doing? You're wasting your life, wasting a whole NBA season to get to this point of work and working so hard and progress this year that you're going to fucking shit the bed and play like this in probably one of the most important games of the whole entire year? You don't have pride about getting swept by the Celtics? Kyle Lowry used to have that. He used to get pissed about this. And in some ways, he would will our team to wins because he didn't like the idea of the Celtics getting all 4 games against us this year. You guys don't care. If y'all cared about any of the things I just said, you would have played harder and with more urgency yesterday, and you would have had a better result. I don't think you all were that close, honestly. People are saying, oh, no, they played them competitively. They played them close. Bullshit. The Celtics were playing bad for most of the game. And when they needed to turn it on professionally to do it right, well, you saw the result in the fourth quarter. The going away from y'all, we're making a big lead, and boom, we're going to take control of this game because that's a serious NBA team. That's a serious NBA team. That's a contender. That's a team that knows what it takes in the levels of the playoffs to get to the finals. Y'all don't know jack shit. Y'all probably don't even know how to survive a play-in. And when we find that out next week, maybe. It's like, seriously, y'all want to say we're close to them in the gap? No, we're not. We're nowhere near the Celtics in competing for an NBA championship right now because y'all don't have urgency. Y'all don't understand what it takes to win, and y'all aren't putting the effort in to try and do it. And it just pisses me off, man. It just pisses me off. Yeah. Yeah. Jimmy's saying, and that's the other reason why he didn't get rebounds. Darko has him at the 3-point line 80% of the game on defense. Yeah, I don't understand that. I've been noticing that too, Jimmy. And that's pissing me off too. You know, Jakob can have these monster rebounding games, and he has in the last month. He had like an 18 rebound game not that long ago. Everybody forgets that. So why isn't that happening now? Is it some genius scheme by Joe Mazzulla? No, it may be very well be that it's stupid and he's guarding the 3-point line. It's so dumb. It is so dumb. Jimmy, man, great comments, man. Thank you. Trevor's saying this, the Raptors break down in the fourth. I'm not mad at them. They're all still learning how to beat good teams. We all forget this team is still building habits. You know, this is true. You know, and this is a voice of reason that I do need to hear. We have a young core, but in some ways this is bullshit too, man, because we got Brandon Ingram's played 10 years in this league. Man, don't give no excuse for Ingram. Nah. You know, I have this theory now that Brandon Ingram is ruined because he played on the Pelicans for so long, that he doesn't understand how to play truly at the highest level to compete for the best things in the NBA. And because he's a lackadaisical kind of personality, does he care? He's got the bag. He's got everything in his life to be satisfied. In some ways, Brandon seems satisfied with his life, and he doesn't need to go above and beyond anything. He's got the bag. He's got the girl. He's got the lifestyle. Because in some ways, look, he's had all career to establish habits, to establish what Trevor's saying here is like they're building habits. It's like, man, this dude should have these habits already. He's 10 years in the league. He's in the league as long as Siakam. He should be at the level of Siakam right now, right? Right? He should be that polished. But no, he may have wasted too many years in the Pelicans building losing habits and lackadaisical habits and kind of like, oh, well, we're losing again. I'm not going to give a shit. Habits. Yeah, no, see, that'll work for the young guys like Grady and Jacoby and Jamal and Jonathan and Jameson and all those guys, Colin. But in some ways, I don't give that pass to the starters because those starters have been in the league long enough to know that they need to play at a higher level and build these winning habits faster. I'm not going to diss IQ, obviously, because he didn't play. And to be quite frank, IQ could have changed this game immensely yesterday. Stargate is exactly right on Discord yesterday when he said we need IQ in this game. And I'll tell the reasons why we needed IQ in this game very shortly. RJ's been in this league 6 years. He played for the Knicks. He's been in the playoffs. He should know the level that it takes. He should know. Scotty should know too. Scotty should know too. As one of the leaders and an advanced, smart kid that knows basketball, he should know. He should know this. So there's no excuses for the starters with this, building habits. These guys have been in the league a while. They should have these habits mostly established, and they should be teaching the young guys that come off the bench how to be that way. But no, we got a bad leader in Brandon Ingram. We got Scotty being soft, And RJ, he can only fight for so long with so much and do what he does. In some points, he's going to be ineffective and have a bad game. Emmanuel extremely missed. Extremely missed. The thing with Emmanuel and why we needed him yesterday is because he pushes the pace. Shed's too slow. He pisses me off. Yesterday, Shed, he does the old Fred thing where he waits and rests and looks and assesses. Fuck that. We have to have this blinding speed of going full up the court. And there's too many times that Shed's taking a breather while he has the ball and waiting. And then the defense for the other team set. We can't get into our half court offense correctly because we just stood at a standstill for a second real quick. No, you can't do this anymore, Shed. In some ways, you're too slow in certain things that you do. You're too slow at getting your shot up. You take too much time to wait and see whether you should take it. No, you should unconsciously shoot that motherfucker if you have daylight and it's open. Because you stood there and you wait. Oh, no, wait, I shouldn't shoot it. You waited just a second too long. You should be dead-eye and saying, no, I got to shoot this. Like Marina Mabry. Get rid of the ball right away. But no. And then the other things is like bringing the ball up slowly up the court instead of pushing it like Emmanuel, who pushes it into the paint and gets our offense in half court a little bit more of an advantage because you're injecting that energy into a sprint or a quick step. That's why we needed quickly yesterday. And in some ways, Shed pisses me off because look, he's a winner. He's a tough-nosed guy from Houston in college, but this is the NBA, and a lot of that physical attributes that he had that were good in college don't work in the NBA. In fact, he's at a detriment. And he can have that dog, he can have that hard work, he can have all that, but he needs to fucking understand the NBA is faster, and he can't be lollygagging. He needs to fucking move that ball around quicker. And if it's staying too slow or stuff like that, it's stagnating. And there's other stuff. We start getting momentum. And once again, we give the ball to Brandon because he's just the focus. He's a priority. And Brandon squanders good possessions by taking half-ass shots and missing them. And it kills our momentum. Once again, that shit happened again last night. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not so big on Ingram right now is because his attention to detail and his attention to executing is not always there. And we see the times when he's actually trying, because they all of a sudden they're explosion, like him taking it to the basket and dunking it or making a really cool layup around somebody with his long arms. Yeah, or taking the initiative in the fourth quarter to score a couple trips down the court to try and get us back in the game. No, you guys shouldn't be doing it this way. Y'all need to keep score the whole game and not try to play catch up in the last frame. You need to be like, all right, how many does Jalen have right now, Scotty? Well, go ahead and get 2 more than him in the first quarter. How many does Jason have, Brandon? Oh, I got to go out there and get 5 more to catch up with him. You guys should be keeping score like that. That's the old school way that the superstars used to do it. Bird and Magic, Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan. It's like that's how you play basketball. You compete with the person you're against. You have to outscore them. That's the basic building blocks of winning basketball is outscoring your opponent. And if you're not keeping score individually, in some ways, I get it. It's a team concept. But in some ways, a real good way to show that you guys are competitive and you're trying to beat people is your leaders compete against the leaders of the other team and try to beat them. But no, you guys aren't trying to do that at all. You're passengers, you're cardio merchants. You're standing around watching the other team go get the loose balls while you're just standing there and losing. I'm sick of this shit. You got to work harder. You got to get after everything. You got to go all out. You may be tired because it's on near the end of the season. This is the time when you get tested the hardest, and you got to do it, go through it. That's right. You got to do it to go through it. That's right. Yeah. You know what? You're right, Trevor, for the young guys, but I don't say that for the starters. They're not absolved of this. They should know better, and they should have better habits at this point, honestly. Jimmy's saying this, for me, coaching is not just taking a player out after 3 breakdowns where you're obviously telling him to jump up on the screens and then let him do it again to no avail when you put him back in. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, look, I've been very protective of Darko most of this year, but there are some things that he has been doing that have pissed me off. And I just don't think that he's taken care of, that he has blind spots. And in some ways, the stubbornness of their defensive system is one of them. I don't think it works. And I think that they need to be more basic about it. I think that they've made it way too complicated. I think that in some ways it's kind of cool and novel And other teams broadcasts have said, oh, the Raptors switch up their defense so much. It's so interesting. But it's like, yeah, what happened to just being fucking simple? Put your center in the center and, play one on one and stick to your man and stop switching so much. Get the matchups you want to be on the person you want and stop switching so much and stop playing your center outside. Yeah, this is basic shit right here, man. This is a basic shit right here. And Raptors did so good adjusting at halftime into the third quarter in the earlier part of the season. Where has that gone at this point? Where are the genius adjustments? Well, we did see them adjust to a two-man pick and roll game with Scotty and Jakob to start the third, and it was very effective to get scores. Yeah, they did that. They got that going. But where did that go further into that half? Yeah, and when was Brandon going to show up finally to try and take over the game? The fourth quarter when it's too late? Too little, too late? What the fuck, man? You should be taking over the game way earlier than that. You need to do it right from the start in the first. If you know you're playing the Celtics on their home court, and you got to do that, right? G's saying this, I love Scotty, but the team will not win if he doesn't score. His usage is too high for the team to depend on others to do all the scoring. Not a winning formula. Can't wait for IQ to come back to space the floor. Yeah. Yeah, this is good points. The Raptor freaks are astute. They understand what's going on here. All y'all. And even the people that were in Discord with me yesterday. I'm not mad at anybody from Discord yesterday. I was mad at the Raptors. And I was voicing it in there. And maybe my energy was very negative and was not normal for me. But this is part of it. It's like, look, I am a positive fan for the Raptors, but when I understand the shit's hitting the fan or we have very high stakes going, I change my fandom. I get a little bit more critical. I get a little bit more on top of them as far as like, y'all need to be this excellent. And that's what was happening yesterday. Some people in Discord were like, whoa, Lex is really crashing out like Marina Mabry because he's just going, what are they fucking doing and all this? I was cussing a lot. And I was saying like, Brandon's pissing me off. Scotty's soft. I was saying all this shit in the Discord yesterday. And Trevor and Stargate were like, whoa, Lex, chill out, man. Come on. They're playing hard. They're trying. It's the Celtics. I know. But this is a game that I wanted bad. And this is a game they should have wanted bad. That's the thing. They should have wanted this game bad like Kyle Lowry. But we don't have a Kyle Lowry on our team right now, obviously. That'll get them organized and say, yeah, we're not losing to the Celtics today. Because I actually missed Nick Nurse yesterday. Yeah, and this is not a detriment to Darko, but one aspect that Nick has that Darko doesn't have that I wish Darko could get better is a psychotic competitiveness. It's like Nick Nurse is crazy competitive. He's fucking nuts. That was part of the reason why he was such a good coach for the Raptors, is that he's a psycho about winning. And he can be very psycho in that kind of way as a leader, as a coach. And in some ways, we don't have that kind of energy from our coach in a certain way, like we did when we had Nurse. In some ways, that was the whole thing about some of the games that we won during the Nick Nurse era that we shouldn't have won was because Nick was like that. So I kind of missed Nick Nurse yesterday and Kyle Lowry because those two guys in the history of the Raptors, they pull out a W in that situation yesterday, somehow, some way. And in some ways, I'm not trying to diss Scotty or Darko in contrast, but those guys had it like that a little bit better in that department. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, Kyle. Yeah. And I'm not giving them credit because they're Sixers or anything like that. I'm talking about when they were Raptors. That's right. G's talking about the championship game yesterday in the women's NCAA basketball tournament. Lauren Betts won the chip and most outstanding player. Well, there goes my dream. Yeah, because she's probably going to be top 3. I was looking at the mock drafts for the WNBA, and, Flau'jae's right around there. This could happen. Kiki Rice, that's a possibility. These are names y'all have brought to me, and they sound very plausible to be the possible first pick in the history of the Toronto Tempo's franchise history, the 6th pick in this draft. Now, this is interesting. They announced yesterday, I don't know if y'all caught this, free agency starts today. So today, the WNBA has opened up negotiations for the teams to talk to the players. They can talk today to teams. Now, they're not going to announce anything officially in the next 2 days because these are like feeling out days, Monday and Tuesday. But by Thursday, you're going to start hearing announcements about free agency signings for the WNBA. And they want to get all this shit done this weekend. because the draft is next Monday, a week from today. And they're going to try and get the free agency done in like a 3-day period. But they're starting the negotiations today. They finally announced when this could happen. This was a big mystery up until like yesterday. When is free agency allowed? When are they going to announce the dates? Well, they did late last night. And today is the day of negotiations. Tomorrow's the day of negotiations. And then Wednesday is kind of like getting prepared. And then Thursday and Friday, you're going to hear a deluge of tons and tons of free agency signings for the WNBA on Thursday and Friday. And we'll hear about probably Kia Nurse coming to Toronto for the Tempo around Thursday or Friday. And then the draft will be next Monday. So just a little schedule update on the comings and goings for the Toronto Tempo this week. It's all about free agency. And Monica Wright-Rogers and Eli Horowitz are on the phone right now, I'll bet you, already starting this up because it is officially open as of this morning for them to contact the free agents and start negotiating. Yeah, it's very, very cool. Trevor's saying next Monday, the WNBA's draft is fully stocked with lots of good players for the Tempo to get. Yeah, only one good player because we only have one top lottery pick, but we do have 3 other picks later in the draft. And, you know, those later picks are usually kind of either stash projects, maybe European players that may or may not come over. You know, you can get stash players, projects, with rights to players that you might want with the later picks. Maybe not necessarily players that will actually come in and make the team and play on it this year. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Anything's possible. We'll have to see. G saying, I'm old school like you. I have some pride, players. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. Is like, have some pride. That's the Kyle Lowry factor that we miss. That maybe even, you know, DeRozan. DeRozan has that too. If he's in that kind of position where he can try and go and win the game, well, he's going to go do it just like he did against us when he came to Scotiabank last week. You know, it sucks. In some ways, I want these guys to get this better, but they don't. In some ways, Scotty, stop being a passenger in your life. Be the main character. Be the main character. You're being NPC right now. And in some ways, you need to be the playable character that is absolutely the hero and the guy. And right now, you're kind of standing in the background as a background character. And I don't get this, Scott. You shouldn't be like this right now. You should, you know, in some ways, your unselfishness is actually starting to become a stunt to your growth. I'm not gonna lie, seriously, stunted growth. I don't follow his channel anymore. He uses AI and he bashed RJ Barrett. But that, if you're going to add one of the 3 stunted growths to Scotty's career in the end, if he doesn't get going and blossom to his full potential, it would be Scotty had stunted growth because he was too unselfish. Scotty had stunted growth. He could have been a better player, but he was too unselfish. The opposite of what other people usually are is selfish. He was too unselfish. He could have been a way better player, but he gave the ball to everybody else instead of getting it himself. That would be one of the weirdest ways to stunt your growth in your NBA career, is being like that. Scotty, you listening to me? Did you hear what I just said? That your unselfishness is going to stunt your full potential because you're too unselfish. Too unselfish. That's right. HC is in the house. Let's see. HC is completed to get the finals. The one defeated is still one defeated. Rise and shine. Got a beat down whole game. Yeah, you talking about me or you talking about the Celtics beating us? Yeah, I don't know, man. HC, congratulations for getting to the final of our Raptor Freak Yahoo NBA Fantasy League. You will be facing Amit's fantasy team. And, well, I wish you the ultimate luck. You've done so well this year in the fantasy league. And I guess I'm playing Kaz now for this week in the consolation, the last week of the season. So, Trucker Kaz, it's you and me for 3rd place. And then HC versus Amit for 1st and 2nd. So, the best team win. And HC, man, it's been an amazing season for you and your work that you've done all year. You've done amazing. I just seen you drop Austin Reeves this morning because he's not going to be there for you for this stretch run, obviously, because he's hurt. So, man, you've done it in all kinds of ways. You lost Jokic in the middle of the season, and you've patchworked your team and done a good job to only being beaten once this whole entire year, 1 week. Well, you got one more week to win and to get that gold. So go get it. Seriously, go get it. You beat me, so I'm rooting for you. I want you to win this championship. So go get it, HC. Seriously, don't mess around. Show everybody exactly why you're the one defeated. That's right. That's right. Trevor J saying this. We can huff and puff all day long about Raptors players until we're blue in the face. Not going to change anything until the players change how they play the game. That's right. That's why I'm crying out. Help me, Obi-Wan. You're my only hope. Fucking have Lex pop out of R2D2 at OVO Center and talk to Scotty. Help me, Scotty Barnes. You're my only hope. Help me. Yeah, I can whine and cry about this all I want. Doesn't matter, right? That's what you're saying? I don't get that. I'm putting this out in the universe. It's on YouTube. Anybody can find it. Maybe they do find it. Maybe, maybe somebody in their camp watches it. Maybe Lloyd's watching me. Says, man, Raptor Street called you soft, bro. What? Raptor Street called me soft? He's usually all about help talking me up. Yeah, he called you soft, bro, yesterday. Yeah, he called you soft because of the Celtics game. Man, what the fuck? Why do you say that? Who knows, Trevor? Butterfly effect. Who knows? At least, you can be whining and crying at your house and to the TV, throwing it down just like your neighbor or your friend did last year, throwing the TV down. Nobody will hear that. That's a tree falling in the forest. Like, does somebody hear it if they don't hear it? No. But if I'm on YouTube, they might hear me. They might hear me saying they're soft and that they're not taking this as serious as they should. I don't know. Maybe they will change how they play the game. Maybe they will. I mean, the redemption is in New York on Friday. The redemption is in New York City on Friday in Madison Square Garden. That's right. There's redemption there. Josh Bloomberg has a tweet out on Blue Skies this morning saying this, basically, guys, making assumptions, but you figure Philly probably beats Indy and Milwaukee, and the Raptors probably win their finale against the Nets. If that's the case, the Raptors will need to steal at least 2 of the next 3 games, the 2 versus Miami and New York. If we have a shot to be top 6, the Sacramento loss looms large. Yeah, I mean, there's not much track to run on for the rest of the season to try and get this right and get in the right place in the standings. And this tiebreaker with Philly is not in our favor. So we have to have a better record than Philadelphia. And we're going to need hope that San Antonio, the Rockets, take care of business and beat Nick Nurse's ass. If they go above and beyond and beat one of those 2 Texas teams, we may be in trouble. There may be no chance. And we're looking at a play-in match with the Charlotte Hornets. The Indiana and Milwaukee games. Yeah, what do you expect from that? Come on now. Siakam, you want to go beat your old coach? You had a little bit of a with him at the bubble. Maybe you want to go beat your old coach, Rick Carlisle, and you could go beat up on Nick Nurse and the Sixers just real quick before the end of the season. Siakam, you be a beloved, the beloved, just like Kyle calls you, the beloved by Raptors Nation. If you can beat Kyle Lowry and Nick Nurse before the end of the season. Milwaukee, I'm not thinking you're going to do jack shit. I'm not even getting up to the idea of you doing anything to help. Seriously. But this is so dangerous. You know why? Because, look, we got to play Spoelstra's team 2 games in a row. Granted, we have home court advantage, and granted, we have played them well in the last 2 years. But they're still so fucking dangerous, the Heat. They're still playing for something. And these are, if we know the history of the dogfights that we've had with Miami Heat in the last couple of years, yeah, these have been crazy ass games with multiple overtimes and Christian Coloco getting in fist fights and shit like that. It's like, this is like really good NBA script writing in some ways. It's like, all right, here's the grudge match, Heat versus Raptors. These are always crazy games, and these games matter so much to the Toronto Raptors right now. And they matter to the Heat too. And we know Spoelstra is that kind of competitor, like I just described for Nick Nurse. So this is the thing, man. These guys can't mess around. These guys, that's why in some ways it's like, look, they probably were going to lose to Boston. But I did see daylight where they could have jumped into it and won, but they did not come the correct way to the game with the urgency and the dedication to executing correctly and playing at a high level to beat a team like the Celtics yesterday. And it sucks, man. I hate that shit. I hate that shit. I really do. I hate that shit. Yeah, let's just see it. G saying this. This is why I miss Fred. He wasn't perfect, but he hated losing, and he would have cussed everyone out. But some fans thought he was mean. Well, this is what nice does. Makes them soft. Yeah, this is another person. I've talked about Kyle for this. I've talked about Nick for this. But Fred was another one of those guys. And in some ways, that's part of the reason why in your rookie season, Scotty, you got to the playoffs and played the Sixers in a first-round matchup, and you haven't been back since because Fred was on your team still then. And he's missed on the Rockets right now immensely for the same reasons. So it's like, yeah, G's exactly right. Let's put some good word on number 23 and talk about his factor for upkeep of pride and quality control. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he was mean. Fred's yelling at somebody on the sideline, a younger player. Oh, he's a mean guy. No, he really fucking gives a shit. And he has the stuff that I've been talking about on the stream today. He has that stuff. That's right. Yeah, Jimmy's saying, "Feel you, yeah, Lex." Yeah, you guys are listening to me, and they were like, "All right, is Lex out of pocket? Is Lex going overboard?" Maybe some of y'all think this, but some of y'all are right here with me, like Jimmy. That's right. G's saying this. They don't hate losing enough. It's obvious. We need a productive vet that will set the tone. Yeah, I don't even know. I think they hate losing. I think they just don't understand how much they need to put in to get winning. I think that they hate the losing. I'm sure they're feeling it today. Jacoby didn't look happy after the game last night when he did his press conference. He was very much acting like he should. In some ways, Jacoby may be this guy next coming up in the crops because in some ways he has parallels to people like DeRozan. And maybe he gives a shit to the point where if he's a more mature leader on the team because he's got more years under his belt other than just 2, he develops into the quality control that Fred VanVleet used to be. That would be awesome. I mean, Scott, you should be this guy, honestly. But in some ways, I question how much your heart is into this whole thing. Seriously. And maybe if you feel like you're doing too much and you're too scattered right now, Scott, well, they need to put down some of those hats that you're wearing because you have too many hats on your head. And in some ways, we need to keep it simple and focused so you can go do the things that are most important for the team and the best areas where you can help us. And you making fancy passes and being the point guard, that's not it. It's you in the post. It's you with your back to the basket. It's you making huge shots and scoring points for the Raptors. We need this. We need this. And the developing of you as a defensive player has gone very successfully. The developing of you, well, you already were a playmaker. It's not like you need to develop this playmaking shit. What you need to develop is your mid-range and your post game more further. That's what you need to develop right there. Yeah. Yeah. HC saying this. Somebody like Dylan Brooks on our team would leap us a whole other level. Not him, but a determined to win type person by any means necessary. Why not him? I would love this. Yeah, let's get Dylan Brooks. Fuck yeah, let's get Dylan Brooks. He's had that bonus effect everywhere he's gone. He's taken it with him from Memphis to Houston to Phoenix. And there's been an uptick in the standings for all 3 of those teams when he's around. That's not a coincidence. That's not accident. He is a winning kind of player. And, well, you worry about Dylan Brooks playing because he's a villain Dylan. Well, Darko's dealt with him before. Darko's been his coach in Memphis, and they're familiar with each other. And, well, of course, Dylan's played extensively with R.J. Barrett. And the 2 of them, in some ways, R.J. can be a good tether to keeping Dylan under wraps in certain ways so that he stays positive and right. Do we think that Dylan Brooks would love to come home and play for the Raptors? I bet you he would. And, he's exactly the right person for this kind of thing to happen. Bobby Webster. If there's some sort of way, I mean, I would even do this. I would trade Brandon Ingram to the Suns for Dylan Brooks and another player, maybe a big, and do that deal this summer. I would do that. Seriously. I would trade Dylan Brooks and, I don't know, Nick Richards and send Brandon Ingram to them. Yeah, you guys can have that long score like Kevin that you had a couple years ago, and we'll take Villain Dylan up here in Canada, bring him home, and give us an extra big while you're at it. Why not? Does that deal sound good? I don't know what Dylan's money, how it lines up with Brandon. That's why I would say, I don't do this trade talk shit, but I love that deal I just said right now. Seriously, because that would make us win more. And if you're upset by what I just said, we'll fucking go win more. Seriously. Then go win more. Seriously. Yeah. Shout out to Jacoby. Yeah. Let's do the stars of the game. Jacoby Walter is my number 1 star of the game for yesterday. He's just been steady, so steady. They've noticed that the last 2 years, his first 2 years in the league, he has an uptick in his game and his stats after All-Star break. This happened last year too. That it's kind of like Jacoby goes into overdrive and it goes a little bit above and beyond. Once the All-Star break has happened in the last part of the season, his stats get better. He shoots better. And we've seen that definitely this year with his amazing 3-point shooting since the All-Star break. But he did the same thing last year also on the down low, if you remember correctly. So I love that. Jacoby is my star of the game. He got the start, and he was the leading scorer for the Raptors with 16 points. How pathetic. How pathetic. I mean, this is how I want to do this, y'all. We're going to go through both teams, the leading scorers. Jaylen Brown had the number one most points. He had 26 points on 11 and 20 shooting. And he made that 1-3 in the corner over Scotty when Scotty went, well, what do you do against that? No, I get that, Scott. And that's showing you there's levels of excellence in this league that you played perfect defense on that play. Seriously, you and Jamal Shed and Jacoby played perfect defense on that play. But Jaylen Brown had better offense that beat you at the buzzer with that 3 in the corner. That's the stuff of a superstar, going above and beyond. They played perfect defense on him, and they still didn't stop him because that's the kind of shit you need to score in the playoffs. And if you guys can't score in the regular season, how the fuck are you going to score in the playoffs? Seriously. The second leading scorer was Jason Tatum, who's just been back like a month. He's like getting in conditioning. He's not full speed. And meanwhile, he's out there acting like he's been playing all season and seasoned and stuff. 23 points for Jason Tatum with 13 rebounds and 7 assists. Yeah, that's a stat line right there, Scott, that you should have had. 23 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 steals. Yeah, what the fuck? All right, who's the next leading scorer in the game from last night? It's Keita with 18 points on 9 of 10 shooting with 7 rebounds and 3 blocks. He got more points than anybody on our team. Neemias Queta, nobody scored more than him. RJ, you didn't score more than Keita. Scotty, you didn't score more than Keita. BI, you didn't score more than Keita. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Seriously. And then Peyton Pritchard got 17 on 7 of 12 shooting. And he really didn't do anything in the first half. It's in the second half he took over when it was time for them to really get what they wanted. And, as much as we talked about Keita being a problem on offensive rebounds the last time we played them and still being a problem this time, the same thing happened with Pritchard. Last game we played them, Peyton Pritchard habitated in the mid-range, and he'd do these little drives, push off and get Shed off of him, and then fall back and hit these perfect little mid-range shots. He did those to close out the game last night to give them their cushion and get away from us with the lead. At that point, they knew they had this because they had it last game they played us. We didn't do jack shit to figure out how to stop it. So they knew they had that. And when it's closing time, well, you call Tatum and Brown and then add a little dash of Peyton in there. And you got that little mid-range fall back that we have not figured out how to stop. And that's a failure right there. That's a failure. So you got 4 Celtics are the 4 leading scorers in this game. No Raptor mixed in there. Nobody went and got more than 17 points. Jacoby Walter got 16 points and was our leading scorer. 6 of 9 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3, 0 for 3 from the free throw line. That was pathetic. That was the one blemish on Jacoby's night. But that was also indicative of just like, yeah, you guys need to take this more seriously and tighten up. I mean, it's one thing to miss the first one, Jacoby, and I saw the pain on your face when you missed the first one. But then it's another one to miss the second one and be like, yeah, I could see your confidence just dropping. And you could see like, oh, fuck. And then you miss the third one even. That's you getting fouled on a 3-point shot, which Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are good at to get 3 free throws and make all 3 to get a 3-point add-on to their team. We got that on the other side, and you're missing all 3 of them. That's the one black mark from your game last night. Seriously. That's the one black mark. 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 0 turnovers, 2 steals, and a block, a -5 for Jacoby Walter. One of the things I would like to do also that I feel the Raptors need to do better next year is they need to ride the hot hand better. You guys can force feed Brandon and RJ and Scotty all you want, but if they're ineffective and they're not doing things, why can't you have a Colin Murray-Boyles leads the team in scoring? Why can't you have Jacoby Walter get the ball more than those other guys since he's making his shots? It don't make no sense to me sometimes that the Raptors have guys that may be going on runs. Like RJ goes crazy and he's scoring a whole bunch, but then the rotation shifts change and Darko's not riding with RJ. He actually takes him out of the game and he cools off. That's stupid, man. If you got a guy going off in the game, you leave him in there and you ride him. And announcers have said this. Jack Armstrong and Alvin Williams have both said this. I don't understand why Darko doesn't keep riding the hot hand when they get them and they discover them in the game. You can't have a preset determination for your whole game plan before the game. You have to adjust and understand what's going on in the game and go with it. And if Walter and Murray-Boyles are our best two offensive players, you should be feeding them. And they should be able to go for 30 points instead of Brandon and Scotty. I have a big problem with that. It don't make no fucking sense. You got this guy shooting 6 for 9, and he only got 9 shots? Take some of those shots away from those starters and give them to Jacoby. Give them to Colin because they're effectively making points, and those other guys are bricking shots. I'm just saying, doesn't that make sense? Ride the hot hand. Isn't that an old rule in the NBA that old coaches used to have? Yeah, man, Adrian Dantley, he's the hot hand. Just let him go. Let him go. Oh, yeah, Larry Bird's the hot hand. Yeah. But what if that night Reggie Lewis was the hot hand? Let Reggie Lewis go get the 30-plus game instead of Larry Bird because he was the one who had the hot hand. That's what I'm saying right there. We need to recognize that and go to that more, Darko, next year. Seriously. Colin Murray-Boyles is my second star because he was the other guy who was effective offensively in this game. Colin, 26 minutes, 12 points on 5 of 8 shooting, 2 of 4 at the free throw line. He missed a couple free throws that were ugly. And once again, those free throw misses by these youngsters, they do really hurt our team, honestly. They really, really do. 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 turnover, 1 steal, 1 block, -1 for CMB. Colin Murray Barkley. And y'all can see what I'm talking about with the way he plays so monstrous and physical with his stature down near the basket. It doesn't matter that this man's shorter than everybody. He's as strong as them, and he can jump real high. And that's Charles Barkley. That's Charles Barkley. That's why I make that comparison. Take a mop and put it on the head of Charles Barkley. You got Colin Murray-Boyles. I'm serious. That's what it looks like to me. I watched Barkley a lot when I was a kid. I know Charles Barkley. I know how he plays. And the way that Colin Murray-Boyles plays, other than the outside shot, which he could get that, and he could be Barkley's outside shot too. He could be just like Barkley. He's a modern day kind of Barkley guy. And people don't realize that. People don't see that comparison, but I do. Some people are coming around to it and starting to see it more recently now. My third star of the game and final star of the game for last night is Sandro. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Sandro because if anything, Mamukelashvili puts a set of energy that we can depend on. That's it. No, if there's anything it's absolutely given from Sandro, he's going to bust his ass. So I would say the other Raptors, y'all need to play like Sandro Mamukelashvili. You need to bust your ass, whether it's running on the break to help get fast break points or running after loose balls, running to get rebounds. Sandro is a great role model for the rest of y'all to emulate as far as getting after it. Because this is the thing, Scotty. You're the franchise leader. You're the epicenter. You're the tone. You said it. And if you're going to be soft, you're going to be lazy, and you're not going to play the highest of your ability, you're going to set the tone for everybody else. They're going to follow you. So you need to be daring. Next time you play in a game like this, which is going to be Friday, actually these Miami games are going to be like this too. You have to set the tone as the leader, Scott, that I'm going all out. That if there's a rebound, if there's a 50-50 loose ball, I'm going all out to get it. And this is the thing, Scott. If you do this in effective leadership and you do this, you'll set the tone and the other guys will follow your suit. And then all of a sudden, all y'all will play better because you are the leader, Scott. And you set the tone. And the tone you set yesterday was this. That's not a fucking tone. That's ow, I'm hurt. Call my mommy. That's what you set yesterday. Sandro, 24 minutes, 10 points, 2 of 4 from the field. He only got four shots, 2 of 3 from 3, 4 of 4 at the free throw line. Thank you, Mamukelashvili. 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 0 turnovers, a -8. That's a solid stat line in a game where the starters were ineffective for the most part. Sandro got 10 points off the bench. That's not even a good game for him. He's had way better games, but this is how bad I'm scraping the bottom barrel to try and get 3 stars for this game. This is how bad it is. My honorable mention is Jakob. I couldn't give Jakob a star because in some ways 2 rebounds is a joke. The man got 2 rebounds in this game, and this is why people are going after him right now, because they can look at the other side, see what Keita did, and then be like, whoa, 2 rebounds. But the very astute Raptor Freak family, Jimmy Pope, has pointed it out that Darko's not positioning him in the best places to get the rebounds because he has them outside. And astute Raptors fans will know this and understand that's part of the problem here with Yak. Yak had 14 points on 7 and 9 shooting. He had 3 turnovers. And yeah, that's just not good. Minus 16. He missed a bunny at one point, but he made the next one. You know, there was so much gold to be mined down low. And if we had set the tone at the beginning of the game, Scotty, with physicality, maybe the first possession of the game is you're posting up Sam Hauser or Jaylen Brown. I don't care which one. You have the size advantage on anybody on the other side because they're going to have to play Keita on Jakob. See, if I was figuring this out like a coach on the Raptors team, I'd be like, yeah, they're going to put Keita on either Scotty or Jakob, but they can't put him on both. So we're going to go to the guy he's not on, and we're going to post up the little guy that is going to be guarding them otherwise. If it's Jason Tatum on Scotty, Scotty can beat Jason Tatum. If it's Jaylen Brown on Scotty, Scotty can beat Jaylen Brown. He damn for sure can beat Sam Hauser and Derek White. So I'm just saying, if that's a built-in advantage from the starting lineups that you guys aren't recognizing and trying to execute and get after right away, you're busy taking lazy-ass threes to start the game, y'all are not setting the tone right. You should be dominating in the post, in the paint. But no, you guys didn't establish that at all. You're lazy taking three-point shots from the outside instead of going in and doing the dirty work and setting the tone and being men. I'm telling you, that philosophy I just said, they only have one Keita. You guys got to work a two-man game with a big like you did at the beginning of the second half and do that in the first half, in the beginning of the game, and set the tone right away. And you know what will happen when you dominate the paint like that right from the start? You're going to get a couple things. You're going to get more rebounds. You're going to have more of an easier time scoring because the paint is opened up, and you're going to get better three-point shots too. But if you guys are scared to go in there because somebody hits you in the stomach, if you're going to be shying away and being lazy and say, no, I'm just going to take a shot out here, I'm not going to try and go inside, you're not going to get this established. And you're going to not utilize one of the biggest advantages y'all had in the game yesterday, which is the size. Y'all had the size on them. There's no reason why they should have out-rebounded us other than they worked harder, and y'all did not have a game plan, coaches, that fucking set up the Raptors to dominate inside. Some ways it pisses me off. All right, let me go over each one. Brandon Ingram, 34 minutes, 15 points. Pathetic. 6 of 13 from the field. Misses only 3. 3 of 3 at the free throw line. 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 turnovers. A minus 13. Like I said, there was one point in the game where I actually saw Brandon getting after it at the right level of urgency and hustle to go get a loose ball. There was one point where I saw him actually do that. And I said, oh, you can do that. Oh, you can hustle to go get a ball. And once again, you're too lackadaisical. There's that one moment where Scotty had to inbound the ball. Nobody was coming back to get the ball from him. And he had to yell at y'all. Because, like, what are you doing, Brandon? Are you daydreaming? Are you living on another planet? Wake up and pay attention to the game. Scotty's back here. Hey, I got to throw the ball in. Y'all are already down court. Somebody come back. You know, it's shit like that tells me that, like, these guys are not fucking locked in. These guys are not paying attention. And that's why they are not playing well. You know, RJ Barrett, 35 minutes, 15 points, pathetic. 6 of 17, 1 of 4 from 3, 2 of 2 at the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 turnovers, a minus 15. Just not enough. 30 points between the two of y'all. Well, Jalen Green almost outscored both of y'all together. I mean, Jaylen Brown almost outscored both of y'all together. Y'all got 30 points. He got 28. That's pathetic, man. That's pathetic. Some of y'all needed to be like, yeah, I'm going to go beat Jalen. Yeah, I'm going to go beat Jason. You beat Jalen, I'll beat Jason. Y'all should have got together on this and talked about it. Seriously. Brandon Ingram, you can score 30-point games still, right? Because it don't seem like it since you've been kind of sitting around with your heel injury. Can you still score 30 points? Because I don't even know. Right now, you aren't even getting 20. Like, what the fuck, man? Seriously, Scotty Barnes, 32 minutes, 10 points. 10 points, Scott? 10 points? Like, what the fuck are you doing? You have not scored well in the last 4 games. You had that amazing game against Orlando last Sunday that I went to, and you actually scored some points in it, and you had assists. You had a monster game. But then, since then, and it's not like all these opponents have been top notch. You lost to the Kings. You played the Grizzlies. You have not scored hardly any points in the last few games, and your shooting's been dismal too. What the fuck is going on, Scott? This is when I was hoping you would be gearing up to really want to get postseason awards by showing how incredible you are. Because this is your showcases now in these games. And, you may not want to be selfish, but, I know you love money. I know you love getting paid. You want to get paid more? You got to get all NBA. You got to get all defensive NBA. You're not going to get it if you're going to shit the bed in the last week of the season, scoring only 10 points and playing so bad. This is the time right now to showcase yourself to the voters for the postseason awards. Nobody's going to vote for you when you're going out with a whimper. Like, what the fuck, man? This is the high time to really make your case and dominate and kick some ass. That's what I'm saying. The stakes are so high right now. I don't get it. The stakes are high for the team and the standings and the playoffs. The stakes are high for you individually. Because if you do well and kick a lot of ass right now, a lot of eyes will be on you, and you may get more potential favor for these awards. Why are you wasting your time? Why are you going half-assed? You worked so hard all year. You can't see it through right at the end, the hardest part, and go above and beyond right now? Because this is a time where you would make money. If you could kick some ass and show yourself a certain way, you'll win an award, and that adds to your salary. So I don't get it, man, Scott. You don't waste your life. You just got like, 10 points is fine, Raptors freak. What are you talking about? No, it's not. 5 of 14 from the field. His shot is off. He's had really easy shots around the basket that are just slightly off. And he needs to have he needs to work harder in the offseason and really, really get that zeroed in. He has been very good with the mid-range, and some of the stuff he's doing is such high level. But, there's got to be more work to really make it as Kawhi money as possible. Seriously. There needs to be more work. 0 for 3 from 3. He didn't get a single free throw. And I'm sure that that's a fallacy. That is a messed up thing by James Williams and them. RJ did something stupid. He got fouled real hard. I mean, Jaylen Brown basically mugged him, and he didn't get a foul, and they ran down and got a score, and then he got a technical, and they got a free throw also. RJ's trying to score. He goes rolling out of bounds, and he's sitting on his ass, and meanwhile, there's no call, and everybody's running back, and it's a 5-on-4 against us, and they're scoring easy on us because RJ's still back. Jason Tatum scores a basket, hopes for the and one, doesn't get the whistle. They get the ball in bounds to the Raptors. Jason's bouncing right back up and sprinting back down to get back and to be there. These are problems. These are problems right here. There was some ref manipulation, and it happened with Shea Flores. They are usually a very good ref, but they were calling some bullshit at certain times. It was tough. It was late in the game, and Scotty wanted continuation. He made a very tough move and made a basket through it, but they said on the floor, side out, no basket. I hate those calls because if it's LeBron, if it's one of the Celtics, they'll give continuation and they'll allow that score to go. But they have been waving off made baskets by Brandon and Scotty for fucked up weird foul calls and side out. And I hate that shit. That's such a ref manipulation. Because especially for Scotty, he's struggling to shoot. And in some ways now he finally makes a shot, but it gets erased. So in some ways that's a momentum killer, just like missing free throws. I hate that shit so much. There was some ref manipulation yesterday, but the refs were calling a lot of shit for us in the first half. That's the way they'll do it sometimes. They'll heavy up the team that they don't really want to favor in the first half, give them all the favorable calls, and then balance it out in the second half when it matters to take it home by giving all the favorable calls to the other team in the second half. And that's what they did yesterday. The refs gave a lot of good calls to us in the first half, and the second half they went the other way. They were also very red light, green light with the physicality of what is a foul and what isn't. There was a lot of times where they weren't calling fouls at all, letting the game flow. but people were getting fouled. But then at a certain point in the game, everything got touchy and light stuff became fouls all of a sudden. That's so hard to play through because it's just not standard. It's just like you don't know what to expect. How is this whistle today? Is this whistle loose or tight, James Williams? Oh, okay. So it's loose now. You're gonna let everybody play now, but all of a sudden you're gonna tighten it up and call everything later. Yeah, that's tough to play. Red light, green light, ref calling. That's tough to play. Yeah, Scotty, man. Oh my gosh. All right, going to the rest of the bench real quick. Shed pisses me off. Like I said, in some ways he's got to be quicker. He's got to be faster with his decision making, and in some ways he's got to stop being telegraphed so much. He's too easy to read, and people are setting traps for him, and he's causing turnovers for himself because he's just too easy to read on his passing. So Shed, man, in some ways we got to get you to work really hard this summer to go to the next level as a backup point guard, because there's some stuff that you're doing that's making us messed up, stagnating. And well, Shed 26 minutes, 7 points, 2 of 8 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, 2 of 2 from free throws, 1 rebound, 5 assists, 2 turnovers, a -7. And we had garbage time for a bunch of the Raptors too. AJ got out there for 6 minutes and missed a 3, got a rebound. Trace, 1 minute of play, no stats. Jameson got 1 basket. And thank you, Jameson. Honorable mention to you for breaking the 99 to get to 101 and making us score over 100 points. I cared about that. And Battle making a nice little shot right in the center of the lane, right at the end of the game to get the last basket for the Raptors. I appreciate you, Jameson Battle, for making that shot. I really do. Mobo came out for a minute too. And Elijah and Grady also. And no stats for any of them. They really tried to play the starters right up close to the end. But, yeah, waving the white flag, bringing in the bench with 1 minute to go, yeah, it sucks. Because, going in the fourth quarter, it was competitive. We could have tried and stole the game. But in the fourth quarter, that's where your professionalism has to take over. And the stakes are high and the pressure goes up. And, well, the Celtics are more tuned to how to do that, and they have more reps, and they have more polish to it. And in some ways, we're still just trying to decide if we're able to do it yet. Beat good teams in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, they know what they're doing. They know how to close out a game. And in some ways, we're searching for answers, and we're not finding them. That's part of the problem right there. Yeah. So yeah, that's the players, and I already went over the Celtics. Vucevic did return, and it was interesting. See, he was another factor for why we could have won because he was rusty. He wasn't playing that well, and like I said, the Celtics did not play a good game for the first half yesterday. They were ripe for the picking. If we were more on the ball and playing more perfect and right, we could have blown them out. It's just that we were not playing correctly with the urgency or the execution that was necessary to win in Boston yesterday. We just weren't. The team stats tell it too. And it kind of pisses me off because, like I said, we should have the size advantage and beat them there. They shot 53%. We shot 48%. They made 8 threes. We made 8 threes. We only took 20 attempts. See, that's the thing. They didn't have their 3-point shot. In some ways, that's where they're extra scary and really tough to beat, but they didn't have it yesterday. So it's kind of like the shields were down in the Death Star. You could have flown in there and blown it up if you'd gotten through the right tunnel to get to the reactor. Yeah, you could have done it. The shields were down. They didn't make their threes. The free throws, well, we missed 5 free throws, and they just looked ugly. But honestly, they weren't really the factors. And I mean, Jacoby missing 3 free throws in a row. How often is that going to happen? But yeah, he felt that. You saw it on his face. He couldn't hide it, missing those 3 free throws. The rebounds, 44-31 for the Celtics. That's messed up. Like I said, we have the size advantage. Scotty, you should have been rebounding like a fool out there, like crazy. Like seriously, I would say, all right, look, the stat categories to me that matter the most from you, Scott, in their priority, number 1 is rebounds. I don't give a shit about your assists. In some ways, your scoring will come from rebounds. You need to worry about getting rebounds first. If you want to orient your most important job on the court, you're the big next to Yak. And if you guys are just going to put Yak on an island to get all the rebounds for us by himself, because Brandon's the small forward and he's not really a natural rebounder. Scotty, you need to go ahead and say priority one, rebounds. Your priority one right now is assists. And that shouldn't be your priority one. Your priority one should be rebounds. If it's not rebounds, then it should be points. That's what I'm saying. All right, let's say rebounds first, points second. I don't even want assists third. I want block shots and steals, stocks third, and then fucking assists. And then assists. Points of emphasis, points of attention, rebounds. Go get fucking 20 rebounds a game like Rodman would, Scotty, and go and see how easy it is to win when you do that. You really want to know the keys to how to win? Go get all the fucking rebounds and stop fucking around with your life. You're fast, you're big, you're strong, you're smart. You know where the ball's going. Go get it. And stop standing there and watching other people go get it like Nemes Keita and Precious Achua. Rebounds. Priority one, Scott. I'm sick of this shit. Yak is not a man on an island. He needs his four to help him board also. And, you should be down there instead of thinking about breaking away and getting down the court and fast break. You should be down there thinking about who you have to box out and stop from getting offensive rebound on us. And so many fucking chances for the other team to score. This is, in some ways, we need to reprogram your brain and reorient to you to go get rebounds. Because you should be having monster rebound games every single game. Seriously. You have all the skills. There's no excuse. You're playing smaller people. Your matchup at the four is normally somebody smaller and weaker than you. You should be out rebounding the hell out of them. That's the biggest key stat yesterday. That's the thing that I said yesterday. We had an advantage over them, but we didn't take advantage of it, is that we had the size. It's so stupid, man. 12 offensive rebounds for the Celtics. That shouldn't have happened. The assist to turnover ratio is 31-15, which is a 2-1, which is not bad. But once again, assists are only so great if you can't keep the ball and get the ball on the defense to close the defensive possession because they keep getting rebounds and getting second chance shots over and over again. Yeah, I don't give a shit if y'all get 30 assists if you're giving so many extra chances to the other team on the boards. Yeah, 25-18 for the Celtics on assist to turnover ratio. Yeah, they got 10 steals on us. That's not totally right. And points in the paint, the other place where I'm like, yeah, this is where they failed. Too much settling for outside. 76 points in the paint for the Celtics and 58 for us. Yeah, this is the autopsy of a loss and how you figure out how you lost. Yeah, it sucks, man. It sucks, man. Yeah, let's keep going. HC saying Tatum coming from an Achilles injury and looking like that is just insane. He's definitely had some of Kobe's rub off on him. I was hoping for some rust. I thought that the fact that they were going to bring Vucevic back and Tatum's just come back recently, that, sometimes that messes with teams' chemistry, and they're a little bit off because of that. But that wasn't the case here. And in some ways, that energy was kind of there. Tatum wasn't totally smooth with all of them yet because they are still trying to balance everything with adding him back in the mix. But we didn't capitalize on that at all. That was definitely something, Nick Nurse in the past probably would have figured out how to game for and get an advantage from. You know what I'm saying? Jimmy's saying CMB, we got something there. Yeah, he's a keeper. He's amazing. And I don't want him to learn bad habits. I want him to learn the best winning habits. So we need to keep this winning attitude of like getting after it like he has already. And don't let him get jaded or get bad habits from other people on our team who are not trying as hard. Seriously. G saying, wow, Lex, I was literally thinking most superstars are elite at two things, and scoring is one of them. Can't be a jack of all trades, and that is not his fault. This roster needs some tweaking too. Yeah, I mean, we obviously want to improve every offseason. Bobby puts an addition together with Masai in the past, and they see how it competes. And, some of the things didn't come through for us this year were three-point shooting. That could have been a whole other dimension to us if our three-point shooting had been more reliable this year. We probably would have won close to 50 games, no lie. But it is what it is. And we're going to see where we had problems this year, and we're going to try and fix them this offseason. That's Webster's job as the head of basketball operations. So, and I have a lot of faith in him. I mean, between, the the possibilities of what could happen with the draft and free agency. Well, not so much free agency, but maybe some sort of like there could be a trade this summer. Seriously. And it could be a very kind of like it's not a huge trade or anything, but it's something that it's like, whoa, that actually really helped us. So we'll just have to see. This offseason, there's work to do for sure. There's work to do. Danny, the electrician, is here. Good to see Danny. Hopefully his job is going well and he has good things going on. This team has a pattern, and that's who they are. I don't want to say that that's exactly who they are. I think that there's still the ability for them to come through and kick some major ass and get this right. But, this is a learning year. If you want to really go by the age bracket, and that we had 5 rookies last year, in some ways we could look at this rebuild as its second year, as a second year pro this year. It'll be a third year pro next year. In some ways, the rebuild is in line with Shed and Walter and the aptitude of the team. Scotty, in some ways, you could say since Scotty started. No, because he had Siakam and Anunoby and Van Vliet. No, the rebuild and the age and the maturity of our team identity and what we're doing is really, this is ending our second year, and it's tied to Walter and Shed. It really is. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. But yeah, they have a lot of ability to get a lot better than they are right now. This is not exactly who they are. This is not exactly who they are, for sure. Yeah. Let's see. G saying this. I hate that their scouting report is to be physical on them and they will wilt. It's so obvious what the game plan against them is now. Be physical, a bit dirty, if need be, an easy win. Yeah, that's true. Because people have hit us hard and they've gotten very physical, especially with Ingram. Ingram can be very ineffective once physicality comes at him and he's just not making the shots all of a sudden. And, some of it is like I've said before at times, I've said this once before on this channel before, is that the rules of the NBA are going more FIBA and there's a lot more physicality being allowed than there was like when Brandon was in his first 5 years of the league, or maybe even his first 7 years. Brandon came into the league in the 2010s when, it was Kobe and Kevin and LeBron's league as far as like light physicality and allowing players to operate offensively with not a lot of impediment by defenses. The defense had their nuts chopped because it was really like they protect the quarterback in the NFL. It's like they were doing a lot of stuff to protect players, and there was no defense in the NBA. And in that NBA, Brandon Ingram can flourish and make a lot of points because nobody's touching him. But because the trend in the last couple of years is a more physical NBA that's going towards more FIBA style rules, especially down under the basket, they're allowing a lot of contact and slapping around and physicality a lot more than they did when Brandon came into the league. So I think that's one of the problems is that in some ways the league is trending towards that more, and that hurts Ingram because he's not good with physicality. And in some ways, it's like, yeah, if they're going to allow people to just push him while he's trying to dig his jump shot, he's going to be off. He's not going to make his shots. And he can be pushed and he can get off his shot because of that. It sucks. It sucks. Fiercely saying, good morning, fam, and happy Monday. Good morning to you, MJ. Always happy to see MJ in the chat. And yeah, I mean, if we can figure out how to withstand the barrage of physicality better, that would be awesome. That'd be awesome. Josh Monroe is back. Good to see Josh Monroe, longtime Raptor freak. It's been a little bit since I've seen you. Good to see you back. The players on this team can't contain their man. They rely on the bench to defend everybody the entire game, which should not be the case. They also lack ability to generate offensive sets. These are kind of general critiques. I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, I wish Scotty would be more like OG and want to just clamp down. I mean, in some ways, he does try to do that. He was guarding Jaylen Brown pretty tough, but Jaylen Brown's really good. Really, really good. It's tough, man. I think that G and I are right. Too many hats. He needs to focus on one or two things and just do them very exceptionally well. And like I said, it'd be a travesty if one of those two things is not himself scoring, because he is so good at scoring. He could be a really good scorer for us. I'm looking at his stats right now for the season, and instead of Scotty beefing up his scoring at the end of the season to get a 20-point average, he's gone down from 19 to 18 points per game because of his anemic scoring in the last week. That's no good, Scott. I don't want your stat line to say 18 points per game. I wanted you to be a 20-point per game scorer for the season. And if you're really an ultimate competitor and a little bit more selfish, you're trying to go get yours so that your stat line at the end of the year says you averaged 20 points per game this season. You had the opportunity to change that about a month ago, but you're going in the wrong direction now that you're averaging 18 points per game instead of 19 or 20. That's a problem right there. That's a problem right there. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. G saying this. Also, when they announced that their main trade line goal was to save money, what kind of freaking message is that to the team? Not a cultural setting message. Keep some things to yourself, even if true. Who said that? I never heard them say that. I said that on this channel that they're being cheap by not having the extra roster spot. But who said this? Where's your source? I've never heard them say anything like this. Who said their main trade line goal was to save money? Oh, you mean the Oshai deal? No, that's totally different than this. That's not setting the tone for anything. That's Bobby Webster trying to get under the level for the cap so that we don't have to pay extra taxes. I get that. In some ways, it's like, okay, Roger's being cheap, but it's smart business if they got it almost right there anyway to just dip under to get under it. And that was that whole move with Oshai and Trace coming to us. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you're reading that as saying, oh, they're trying to be cheap and they're not trying to spend money to win, well, now's not the time to spend money to win because obviously they're not on the level of the Celtics. Why would we spend the money on an extra free agent to push them up to the higher level like a Marc Gasol? If they're not even ready to kind of like win a regular season game once this whole season against the Celtics. So no, I mean it's a different thing, G. I kind of understand what you're saying, but that's not the message they sent the players or anybody else. That's just Bobby doing housekeeping on our books to get us under at the trade deadline. That's all that was. That's all that was. Let's see. Jimmy's saying, good point, G. It should have been we are focused on our youth developing and growing and adding another young piece, not we accomplished our goal of getting under attacks. Well, they may have had goals for this just for this year because of things. And like I said, once again, we don't know how much of a factor this is Keith Pelly breathing down Bobby's shoulders and saying, you need to get under that. If you don't get under that, we might have to fire you. Kind of shit like that. You mean, it could be kind of like that too, right? Right. Jimmy's saying if we're trying to win, then you can't be scared to give draft capital for a glaring hole in our team. Well, that's the thing. I think that a lot of Raptors Nation's confused about where we are and what we're trying to do right now. A lot of us pie in the sky people want to compete for a championship every year, but that's not what we're doing this year. We're not trying to compete for a championship this year. If we were trying to compete for a championship, we may do some of the things you guys are suggesting, but we're not ready for that yet. This action and these things that you guys are describing are more like what we did in 2018-19 to get the championship, like trading to get Marc Gasol and doing moves to solidify them. We're not in that mode to do this. So what's the point of shooting our shot on that this year when we're not in the right part of the escalator up to the championship to get there? It's just not right yet. It's too early. In some ways, what you guys are describing is something maybe we do next year if we make a big leap next year, or the year after that is when you go in all in on this. Because if you shoot your shot too early, you miss your window and your window changes. Your window changes. In some ways, we're still on our way up, and we got to develop the things that we're talking about today, like winning attitude, caring, giving a shit, stuff like this, getting the right kind of personnel that balances the team out so that we can be more successful. And when it seems like we're within arm's reach of really being a true championship contender, then maybe you'll see some of the moves you guys are describing right now. It's just that, we can't get confused about exactly where we are in our building back towards a second Toronto Raptors championship and think that we're in the later stages. Some people got confused with that this year. Oh, we're in the later stages of getting close to the championship. We're not actually. We're still near the beginning, but we're showing a lot of promise and we're maybe a little ahead, but we're also at the same time, we're not as far along as you guys think too. So it's kind of like that. Let's see. Fiercely saying this. Disappointing fourth quarter. That's all I can say. But you're right, Lex. There's only so much RJ can do. I've said it already. He's the most competitive of the team. He cares so much. Jacoby's one of these guys too. Colin is showing a lot of fight and fire himself. I just want to see more of this out of the main two guys, the all stars, because in some ways you could make the argument that Brandon and Scotty, since the All Star break, have not been as good as they should be. They got the All Star and post All Star break, the opposite of Walter. Walter's going off and elevating his game after All Star. And meanwhile, Brandon and Scotty had a little bit of blips here and there, a little bit of a 30-point game streak for Brandon. Scotty having monster games here and there. But for overall, if you really looked at the work for Ingram and Barnes post All-Star break this season, is not good. It's not as good as their work before All-Star. If you really look at the stats, really isn't that as good. Yeah, let's see. G saying, Jimmy, that entire thing irked me and still does. Owners' messaging cannot be focused on saving money, not showing investment and faith in the team, not showing a want to win, and what's their goal going. I see. I'm not seeing it the same way as you guys. Once again, I see it. You strike when the time is right, and the time's not right now. It's premature for it. And that messaging you keep talking about with the trade deadline, that was really just a singular thing with the Oshai contract and housekeeping for our salary cap. And you guys are reading into it too deeply on like this is the way we are in our DNA, or this is the character of our team. No, this is just a singular transaction in the middle of this season and the right way to operate with it this year. That doesn't mean next year they won't do something like what y'all are describing. If it seems like it's worth doing because the team is performing at a certain quality level. You know what I'm saying? So it's just this year, right? It's just this year. All right, let's keep going. Jimmy's saying we were scared to trade for a promising young big because we didn't want to give a first. If it's winning time, why are we holding on to draft picks? Yeah, see, that's a lot of supposing right there. I don't even know if that kind of deal was out there for us in a real tangible way that made sense. So that's a lot of supposing. Once again, Bobby lives on the moon and he has to do the things on the moon that we don't understand because we don't have any idea what GMing in the NBA is like and the politics of it and the rules and the different things that are realistic and are not realistic. So it's easy to say that this could be there, but how do you know if that was there or not? I mean, the thing that I think that they made the biggest error on was not getting Julian to stay with us. That may have been the biggest mistake they made this whole year, is letting Reese get to the Wizards on a two-way. That, to me, may be the biggest mistake because you don't even need to trade a big or anything. You just got a guy in your system, and he's like that guy already, and you just keep him here. So, instead of like coming at it from that perspective, I would say I'll be criticizing him for that instead. Not allowing Julian Reese. And all right, speaking of Julian Reese, I'm going to present to you guys my stars of the year for the Raptors 905, and I'm going to count them down, top 20, Raptors 905 in order. And my number 20 star, well, this guy, he got 1 star for the whole year, is Tyrese Hunter. He came in and he played 1 game for us, and the game was so bad, and we lost, but it was so bad that I gave him the star, even though he barely played, as a message. So Tyrese Hunter, number 20. Number 19 is Brampton's own Jaden Bediako, one of the Canadians that got to play on the Raptors 905 this season. He got a 2-star game and a loss this year. Oh, no, wait. He was the 5th star of a win in one of the games this year. Then Caleb Stone Carawell ended up with 3 stars this year as a bench guy for us in the second part of the season. So Stone Cold Carawell, 3. Jamison Battle came down to the 905 for 1 game this year, and he was the star of the game. He got the chain, and he got 11 star points for that. So Jamison, with his one-time appearance, is on the list. Patrick McCaw, Raptors 2019 champion, got 13 stars this season in 3 different games. So McCaw was playing for us. He was hurt at the beginning of the year, wasn't able to play. And then in the middle of the year, he played a stretch where he was very much a defensive specialist for the Raptors 905 this year, getting steals and providing good leadership from his experience as a longtime G League player and a many-time NBA champion. But McCaw disappeared near the end of the year, just went away. I don't know what happened to him. Then we go into the next ones. At number 15, Tyrese Samuel of the CBL, the Vancouver Bandits. He came to our team after the two ways got signed, and he did yeoman's work trying to hold down the center position for us after Olivier Sarr and Reese were gone. And he got 23 stars points in the last stretch of the 905 season. Trace Jackson Davis is the next on this list. He made 3 appearances for 905 this year, including the championship game, the playoff game at the end of the season that they lost. But alas, he tied with Tyrese with 23 stars, but he had way less games than Tyrese Samuel. Markelle Fultz is next on the countdown with 25 stars for his time on the 905. And yeah, he had 4 different games. In one game, he got the chain and was the player of the game. But now he's on the Kings on a 10-day contract, apparently. Quincy Guerrier is the next on the countdown. Our Canadian center from Montreal, 48 star points this season. Very, very good player for us in the second half of the year. He was hurt the first half of the year. And when he got healthy, he was a very steady backup big for us for the second half. AJ Hogarth is next on the countdown with 71 star points for the season. He really kind of took over after one of our two ways got hurt for the season and jumped in his spot and was a really reliable fill-in for the 905 at point guard after Chucky Hepburn lost his season. Chucky is next on the list with 77 star points before he did get hurt and ended his season for the year. And that sucks. Getting even further into the top 10, number 9 was Julian Reese, the call up to the Wizards, the one I just mentioned. Julian was showing very good fundamental promise this whole entire year as a big and very strong and rebounding and block shots and just playing well. And well, it's translated to the NBA, just like I knew it would. Going to the Wizards, he's had monster games near the end of the season. And that's the biggest mistake this year for them. I'm going to say that right now. Not retaining Julian Reese and letting him get away from us was the biggest mistake that the Raptors front office made this year. Next on the list is Jarkel Joyner. The former College Park Skyhawk got 99 star points this season on 905, and he's just steady. He was there the whole entire year. He's one of the few guys I think that played almost every single game for the 905 this season. He was there for almost every single game. So good, steady scorer off the bench, and he did start a lot near the end of the year too. So salute to Jarkel Joyner with 99 stars. Olivier Sarr is next at number 7 with 106 stars. And, of course, he got called up to the Cleveland Cavaliers as a two-way. And, yeah, this is the thing. These guys didn't just get called up on 10 days like Markelle Fultz. No, they got called up to two ways, meaning they're in the plans for their teams next year too. So Sarr is a Cav now. And if we played them in the playoffs, I don't know. Would Sarr be in the playoffs? He's a two-way. I don't think they convert him. So he probably wouldn't play us in the playoffs. David Roddy is number 6 on the star rankings for the 905 season. David Roddy, 113 star points. Of course, he got called up to the Nuggets as a two-way. Now, he has the potential to actually get converted to help them in the playoffs, although they're not playing him a whole lot in their games in their rotation. But salute to David Roddy. He was a really solid 905 player in all kinds of ways. In some ways, the leadership that David Roddy was showing on 905 is part of the leadership holes that we need for the Raptors. Just a gritty, tough guy who has a will to win and is doing anything he can to help them win. And that's kind of who he was, hitting threes, getting on the floor to get loose balls, rebounding like crazy. All right, our top 5, and these are the all 905 team for this past season. These are the best 5 that did the most work for the 905 the whole entire year. Number 5 is Tyson Degenhart. He's my point power forward. He's my power forward for the all 905 team this year. Tyson was a steady, there every game kind of guy. He had his ups and downs. Sometimes he would be not in games, like playing a lot and just a little bit. Sometimes he's more prominent and helping with threes and scoring for the team. He had 120 star points this year, and he's one of the top 5 Raptors 905 this year. Number 4 on the list is Scotty's friend from Palm Beach, Jonathan Mobo. Mobo spent a lot of time on 905 this year. He was the 4th best player on 905 this year, 129 stars, and he was just solid. There's different periods of the season where he did not play on 905 because he was more with the Raptors, but he did bounce back and forth, and he was a very important player for Drew Jones in the 905 this year. And he grew a lot in the 905 in this season. Top three, number three, Tyreek Key. Tyreek, 177 star points. He was just like Joyner, very steady there for the team the whole entire year, developed his strength more this year, and just continued to build as a professional basketball player this year. Salute to Tyreek Key, one of the steadiest players for the 905 this year, being there night in, night out for the team. All right, the top two. I guess you guys will probably know who these two are. Mr. AM, Elijah Martin is number two. He had 203 stars this year, and not a bad rookie year. The 905 stuff for Elijah was very good. He showed a presence of offense down low in the land of the Giants and the G League, which I don't know if translates in the NBA, honestly. But he's got a lot of scoring down low as a small guard with his strength. And, his three-point shot was pretty money. And he had that kind of dog in him that wants to compete and win and fight. And part of that was the reason why the Raptors 905 had an historic best record out of all the G League teams this year and had the historic run in the tip-off tournament at the beginning of the year where they went undefeated and didn't lose. They won like their first 16 games of the season, y'all, in a row. That's why this team is important, man. 905 was undefeated, 16-0 in December of this year. Most people don't know that. All right, and the number one MVP and number one star for 905 this season, of course, is the bad man from Brampton, A.J. Lawson. A.J. Lawson ended up with 217 star points this season, a berth into the NBA G League up next game, along with Elijah Martin. And just a fantastic season. He was definitely the MVP for 905 this season. A.J. Lawson, Canada's own. Yeah, number 0. That's right. So, yeah, there's my Raptors 905 top 20 for the season in the star system that I use on this channel. I'll do it for the Raptors, too, when the season's over. I'll do my star rankings to see who were the top Raptors as far as what they did to help us in their rankings. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Pretty interesting stuff. Jimmy's saying this, plus Darko putting Yak at the mercy of these young bigs, and it's showing we needed that. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we have bigs on our team that should do this. Scotty, if he wasn't wearing so many hats, and Colin, if he wasn't hurt in the middle of the season, I wish they called up Reese. These are all different kind of places where they could have done this. Trace has not been working out totally, guys. I'm going to say that. Trace Jackson Davis, even though he shows promise and he's one of Bobby's favorites, it doesn't mean that he's going to be successful because some people are saying he's a bust and that there's still really fundamental problems with him. Forget about his free throws, which are a disaster, but also think about like some of the stuff he's doing positioning and fundamentals is not exactly right. TJD, not exactly right. Fiercely saying RJ doesn't always finish at the rim, but he drives and approaches the game with intensity. I respect that. He also keeps tabs on teams. Yeah, RJ, his problem yesterday was that he was too strong. Like his light touch was a little too heavy-handed. It's almost like some people were soft and RJ was too heavy. He was too heavy. It was like hitting the back of the rim. Some of those shots are so money normally, but it may have been the overcompensation of why RJ was hitting the back of the rim was because he was matching the physicalness of the Celtics grabbing and holding and hitting him as he's making the move. There's a really fine balance between having the soft touch and finishing in traffic with people around you physically hitting you and not hitting it too hard and shooting it too hard where you miss too. Because you have to compensate for people grabbing your arms. You may be coming up with force, with strength, and you go right through that, and it's a little lighter than you thought. Oh, your shot's too hard, and it's bouncing off the back of the rim instead of going in. That's some of what happened there with RJ and some of his bunny misses from the game yesterday. He's expecting contact. The contact's there to slow him down. He knows he needs to go strong through the contact, but if the contact's a little lighter, maybe he overshoots because of it. Does that make sense? That makes sense. Randolph's here. Good morning to Randolph Phillips. Blessing, beloved Raptor Freaks family. The hero and the coward feel the same fear, but it's what they do with that fear that makes them different. Fear allows you to tap into your strengths. I love this. The way that I always describe the feeling of fear is courage. When you feel fear inside of you, that is actually the feelings of courage. And if you game it that way in your mentality, say, oh shit, I'm feared. I'm scared. I'm feeling afraid. Well, in some ways, if you tell yourself mentally, these are the feelings of finding courage. When you feel that little anxiety, that little touch of fear, that is your moment to be courageous. That's what this is. And the feeling of fear is actually the feeling of time to be courage. So I've in my life, this is the way I look at it personally for myself. When I feel fear or anxiety, I tell myself, well, it's time to be courageous. It's time to go through it. And often you're successful in dealing with it when you have that mentality. If you are all, oh, woe is me, I'm afraid, no, they're going to do this, you're not going to do this right. You're not going to have the right attitude. You have to come towards it and face it head on. And you have to compartmentalize it and put it in a box to say, this is my fear. I'm not going to let it beat me. I'm going to take this feeling and call it courage, and I'm going to go do the right thing and come through it. That's a beautiful way to do it. And this is such a secret to life that more people need to know, that the feeling of fear is not fear. That is inherently the feeling of courage, and it's beckoning you to go be courageous. That's it right there. Thank you for the words of wisdom, Randolph. Blessings to Phillips family and all the Raptor Freak families. That's right. G saying this entire messaging of money really irritated me. Why would anyone expect players to take team friendly deals when the owner's message is help me save and make more? Can they talk winning and fight? Now, I know I've embellished on this channel a lot that Rodgers is a cheapskate and that it's all about this and the business they're doing, whether it's the cross promoting, whether it's the taking the broadcast crew from the sideline and making more money off those seats and putting them further back. Yeah, there's all kinds of different ways that they're pinching pennies and trying to save money. And yeah, it may manifest in the salary cap and Bobby's job himself. But let's not get it twisted. Let's not paint the picture like this so that it's the reputation. It may be an underlying business model that MLS sees under with Rodgers in charge. But let's not paint this picture because that may not be true what you're saying, G, as far as it comes to GM, salary cap, and building the Raptors roster in the NBA. That may not be true. That's probably true in all other facets of business, as far as ticket sales, merchandise, collaboration nights with the Buffalo Bills. Sure, that may be true in there, but let's not get it twisted. Like I said earlier, this is not the year to financially jump in with big investments to try and go for it, as I said earlier. So let's not mistake the two for each other. Fiercely saying no Jakob Pertl slander will be tolerated. Don't goon other Raptors spaces. What? Well, that's not the right verb. But please, fam, if you do, make them understand the defensive lacks are not on him. All right, this is going to make me go to Reddit because that's where a lot of this stuff is right now. People are coming after Jakob Pertl. But I'm going to go and talk about the Raptors Redditor of the day, and it's CMCC83. And they're going to say this: positive thoughts, thread, opinion. Been a lot of negativity lately, so let's focus on the positives this season. CMB has been Rap's best lottery selection in a while, since Scotty Barnes probably. Best Raptors defender as a rookie ever, and more offensive bag than advertised. Yeah, some of that's true. Jacoby's only 21 and turning into a legit 3-and-D starter. Not a star, but young and exactly what you need. I don't know about that, man. He could be a star. And yes, this is true. He's becoming a legit 3-and-D. I don't know if he's a starter completely either. He's more six-man. Brandon will not be Raptor next season. This is what this guy's saying. No, Scotty is not getting traded, but I truly believe BI will be. Raptors spent a year rehabbing his value from nothing to something. That's a win. You know, this may be very well true. I've likened this to a fixer-upper, like people that buy homes that are nice, but they're all beat up, and then they come in and renovate the whole place, flip it and make it nice, and then they sell it and they make a bunch of money off of it. In some ways, that you can make this as a case for Ingram. You think about where he was with the Pelicans and his injury, and the 1 year we've had with him this year, and how we made him into an all-star again. You know, the health of Brandon has been top notch. In some ways, it really is like you got him at this value. Now you can flip him and maybe get him at an even higher value for return. So I think there's a lot of promise in this. And it's interesting that this Redditor sees this potential for this summer like I do. I mean, I don't necessarily want them to trade Brandon. If they don't, I'll be perfectly happy because he's a very good asset to have on our team. It's just I want him to care more. But they could do this within theory. Think about the flip, like a flipped house that Brandon Ingram is this year with his value. Is definitely people can see what he did on the Raptors and say, yeah, we could use that on our team. We could use that on our team, right? He's also saying Shed can't shoot, but fans are too hard on him. He's an awesome playmaker, and that's great value with a mid-second round pick. I wouldn't say that he's an awesome playmaker. He's an adequate playmaker, if not a maybe below average playmaker. But he is a fantastic dog on defense. He's a fantastic table setter for intensity and getting after it and being a floor general. So there are real pluses to him. And his shooting can get better. His shooting is actually kind of okay. It's not totally bad. And then he's saying RJ on an expiring contract can net us a good player in a deal. Yeah, we're not going to try and trade RJ. We should re-up him. Either way, I like seeing somebody on Reddit trying to put a positive post out. And because there is a lot of negative stuff here with a lot of people on here. There's people coming at Alvin Williams right now on Reddit, even. It's so stupid, man. So stupid. G saying this. Reese had another 17 points and 16 rebounds. Wonder if he could have helped. Now, for good news, Colin and Jacoby are looking better and better, and I see fight in Colin. Yeah, those two guys were the top two stars yesterday for sure. And Reese is continuing to put up major stats on the Wizards. But then again, is it because it's the Wizards and the place they're at in the season and what they're doing? There's a robin in the yard. That must mean it's spring. Hello, Robin. I see you out there. And even though there's like snow on the ground again this morning, I got up and I'm like, whoa, there's snow's out on the ground this morning. Like, what the fuck is this? Fiercely saying, we've played Kada already. Always the same results. Can we adjust? Yes. I was saying that earlier. Fiercely saying, I'm being realistic. Our demeanor right now will not help in the playoffs if we make it. There needs to be a switch. Are they playing for fun or the money? Or do they want to win? The fallout of Masai's absence is strong. See, your guys are all over the place with blaming different things. This doesn't have anything to do with Masai. I believe our mindset would be 200% if Masai was around. He would call players to his office. Yeah, that's not what this is. I think it's more like what I was saying earlier, that we lack a leader on this team like Kyle Lowry or Fred VanVleet, that we need the hard-ass asshole that's going to call everybody out and say, this is not good enough. I do not play in the league to just try and lose. I'm telling y'all, we need to get up off our asses and do better. You know, I think it's more in the team. It's not the leadership from top. It's more in the team. And, you know, some people would say, yeah, Nick Nurse versus Darko. Sure. Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry, what they did for our team when they were on our team, this is part of it, is that they were quality control and they were lighting a fire under everybody's asses so that they were up for the games that mattered. And there was a game that mattered yesterday that nobody was up for correctly. And that's the problem right here. Yeah. Refocus them and remind the objective is to win. Yeah. Yeah. It's to have some respect for yourself and say, we're not getting swept by the Celtics this year like we did last year. You know, how long has the streak been going, Scott? Do you care about getting swept by the Celtics? You should. Lowry used to care. That's what I'm saying. Neil's saying this. Good morning to Blackhawk. And thank you guys for supporting the channel, MJ and Neil. Shed should not take more than 4 shots. If he takes more, it meant the ball wasn't moving and he was forced to take it. Part of the reason why he takes so many shots is they lay off of him and they want him to take shots. So they'll guard up all 4 of the other guys on the court. And what the whole protocol for this is, Neil, is that Shed needs to make the shots to make them pay for laying off of him and not respecting him. That's the classic NBA basketball thing at any level. It's like, oh, the weak link on their team to score is that guy. You go ahead and let him shoot. We'll cover everybody else tight and we'll let him shoot. And in our system, the protocol is to move it around to get the best shot. So the Plinko chip lands on Shed's spot often because the other team's not respecting him for his shot. So Shed, if the right psychology is to say, y'all are disrespecting me because y'all aren't guarding me correctly. This is other great players in the history of the NBA be like, yeah, you're not guarding me right. I'm going to fuck you up. I'm going to show you. I'm going to make the shot because you are not giving me respect. So that's what Shed needs to do. That's the counteract to that, is to improve his shooting and make them pay for leaving him open. And while he's getting more shots, it's not up to us. In some ways, the defense is guiding the water that way in the flow. And they're happy to live and die with whether Shed's making the shot over RJ, Brandon, or Scotty, right? That's why it's happening like that, man. That's why it's happening like that. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Kaloy saying, I'm checked out right now. Actually, the fight is not there. See, that's the saying. Raptors fans are like, well, they don't care. I'm not going to care as much as I did a week ago. In some ways, I'm like, I'm like, all right, Raptors, if this is the energy we're going to have on Easter Sunday in a week after we play Brooklyn, we're going to have some sort of postseason game no matter what. We're not eliminated. We will get a meaningful game. It may be one play-in game, though, and y'all shit the bed and you're out. That's the kind of shit the energy that y'all are showing right now. That's what you'll get. You'll get a play-in game. You'll get that one game experience and you'll be out. Because in some ways you guys could fall to the bottom part of the play in this next week if you don't take things more seriously, and it'll be a one and done instead of a two chances to get to the playoffs in the higher part of the play-in. Because that possibility is there. Y'all are playing Miami, and Miami could come and say, yeah, you're going to come down here. We're going to go up there. And these are things that they should give a shit about, right? These are things that they should give a shit about. Stargate, good morning. I won't apologize to you if I was abrasive towards you yesterday. There's nothing that I was saying yesterday was personal with you and I. It was more that I was frustrated with the Raptors. And in some ways, the whole point of our Discord is for me to be able to talk about the game while it's going on live so that you guys can see what I'm thinking during the game. Now, yesterday, I had a different kind of level of compete and mentality. In some ways, I was on that level like Lowry. And the Raptors were not meeting that expectation of what I had and what Kyle Lowry would have had if he was playing with them. And that's why that was manifesting in my voice being very different on the Discord than normal. Normally, I'm a very coddling kind of person that's very positive towards the Raptors. We all know this. But it's crunch time. This is the end of the season. And this game, in some ways, was a turning point game that could have told us something about their character in a very positive way if the outcome had been better. And that's why I'm frustrated. In the past, we've had players and coaches that really gave a shit about these kind of games, and they rose above and beyond and won games they had no business winning. And I just didn't see that in the Raptors yesterday. And it was frustrating me. It really was. Stargate saying, good morning, Rat Freak family. Listening on the outside. Happy Easter Monday. Happy Easter Monday to you, Stargate. No hard feelings at all. There was nothing about what happened yesterday in the Discord that I took personally, just so you know. And I hope you didn't either. My frustration and the reason why I wanted to get out of there was because I knew they were about to lose, and I didn't want to be there to the bitter end, and I wanted to watch the game. And also, to be honest, we were going back and forth too much. I was not able to watch the game correctly because there was too much communication between you and I, and I'm typing to you instead of watching the game. So I had to stop that. In some ways, I used to have a rule where I don't type during game action. I only type during timeouts and in between quarters because I don't want to miss any of the game. And if I get involved on talking on Discord too much, it'll take me away from doing what I'm supposed to do and watch the game. But respect and happy Easter, Stargate. Happy Easter. Neil's saying, I'm not down on these guys. It is what it is. I am. I'm down on them right now. The team has to learn how to have sustained offense like a smooth relay race. Right now, it's mechanical, and that is why it breaks down. First of all, I don't understand the philosophies of the Raptors. They just don't have good proclivities and tendencies and the hierarchy of decision making. Like, some of this shit is so stupid what they're doing. It's like, I don't know, call me old school, call me an old head. I learned basketball in a fundamental way that makes sense. And there's certain rules of how you engage in basketball and do things so that it makes the most sense for you to win and get the most success. Jamal Shed has an open layup at the basket. Why doesn't he just lay it in instead of dumping it to Colin Murray-Boyles, who's got two defenders around him? And because Colin's just money next to the basket. No, Shed, you have the fucking basket. Don't be scared to shoot yourself. There's been too many times where I see either Scotty or Shed want to get the assist over getting their own basket when they had the best shot themselves. And I don't get that. That's not good philosophy. In some ways, the Raptors need to rewire their brains and their philosophies next year to not have such an importance for the three-point shot. I'm sorry, guys. You just don't have it like that. And the idea that you guys prioritize and put such a hierarchy high on getting three-point shots is stupid to me, considering this is not our best bread and butter. This is not something that we've been naturally good at this year, is hitting threes. So why wouldn't we make our bread and butter post moves by Scott or Jakob or stuff down there, or, getting that kind of offense cultivated? Once again, I do not understand why teams start the game bombing threes. It's never a good idea. You start from the inside and you come out. Even the Celtics, a notorious three-point shooting team, what did they do to start the game last night? They established paint presence. They established points in the basket in the lane. Meanwhile, our jokers are lazily hitting, trying to shoot threes at the beginning, not getting nothing. That's the thing, y'all. There's basic fundamental philosophies of basketball that the Raptors protocols are just not sound. Like, they're not making good fundamental decisions, whether it's on fast breaks or deciding who should take the best shot available in the possession. Because there's times you guys get the best shot, but you're giving it to the next guy. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all? Shed, you gave up 2 easy layups yesterday just to dump it to somebody else. And in one of the cases, you're lucky. That one where you dumped it to Colin, he got all guarded up, so he didn't have an open shot. You had the open shot when you drove initially. You could have easily banked it off the backboard. Nobody was in your way, but you gave it to Colin. Colin got guarded up real quick, and he's all in trouble, and he threw it out. And luckily, on that possession, a Raptor hit a 3, and we got a 3-pointer from that. But otherwise, that's really bad fundamental decision making. That just blows up my brain from what I've learned from years and years of watching the NBA, watching basketball. Hubie Brown and Dr. Jack Ramsey, from their school of philosophies and thoughts about what you do right on a basketball court. This is where I come from. Dr. Jack Ramsey. Yeah, if you youngsters and you people don't know who Dr. Jack is, you can go back and find archival footage of Dr. Jack Ramsey and hear his philosophies and how he feels about basketball and what you do in the right situations and what you're supposed to do. It's Hubie Brown. I'm a student of Hubie Brown, the great Hubie Brown, who stepped away from calling games just in recent years and was such a great coach and just such an amazing basketball mind. These are things that these guys taught me that you guys are not following. And I'm like, what the fuck is this new age of NBA that overdotes on the three-point shot and has gotten analytics is just too important in making decisions in stupid ways. Analytics are going to be ruining teams from being the best teams they can be because analytics are telling them to do things that are not fundamentally the correct decision if you ask Dr. Jack or Hubie Brown. I'm sick of this shit. Raptors, rewire your brains next year away from the three-point shot and cultivate your offense inside. I'm sick of this shit. I know it's tough to go in there and do it. It's the hard work. It's dangerous. It's dangerous down there. It's physical. But sometimes that is where y'all are the best place to be, and you should be dominating down there and working and operating down there and stop being so fucking lazy, taking so many threes. I'm just sick of it, man. Every time I see the Raptors get a paint touch and it goes out to get a 3, I hate that philosophy. I know it's analytics. I know it's the overdoting of the three-point line in the modern NBA. It's stupid. It's stupid. All 30 teams in this league should not do the same things to try and be successful because they have different personnel. They have different kind of characteristics. They have different kind of strengths and weaknesses. And the Raptors trying to play Golden State's way of playing is stupid because we're not Golden State. We're not Boston. We don't have the three-point shooters that these other teams around the league have to be having these kind of philosophies be the overriding protocols of the decision-making for our team. I would like them to reset this shit this summer, honestly. Some of it you can bring forward that worked, but some of it you're going to have to reorient the whole idea and the scheme of what you're doing, Darko, because this three-point importance is just not working. Grady Dick's a dud this year. Maybe if Grady had been truly who Grady was supposed to be, some of this shit would have worked, but it doesn't. It's not working right, man. It's not working right. That's right. Let's see. Neil saying endurance requires digging down deep to go the distance. That's right. These guys got to dig down like Jaylen Brown hitting a 3 with Scotty covering him like a blanket. Jimmy's saying this, kind of feel like we've resorted back to the defense we played in the very beginning of the season. Too aggressive. The moment we played more laid back defense, we went on that 13-1 run. Yeah. I mean, this was a big criticism of Nick Nurse's defense was overplaying and getting overplaying for the steal, and then there's a mismatch or a corner three going on because people are out of position because they overplayed to get the steal, the gamble. There's a little bit of that going on with us still. Some of it's with the trapping and coming with traps all the time. It's going to leave somebody open. And I've heard other team scouts say it's like, yeah, to beat the Raptors on their defense is just go get the open man because they're going to send a second defender at the ball handler every time. And if you can make that tough pass out of the trap, well, you've got an easy basket somewhere because somebody's absolutely open. I've been a big proponent, and this goes back before Rajakovic. This goes back to Nick of staying at home and playing people one-on-one. If you're going to build a team along our monsters like we did before, if you're going to have good defensive stalwarts on the team like we do right now, well, stay home. Pick the tough assignments for Scott and give everybody a person they got to shadow and play and just play like we do in the streets, on the courts, in the public, in the cities, and average everyday people. Because in some ways that makes more sense. You can overcomplicate your defense to the point where it is actually hurting you. And I think that this is what we're talking about right here. This is what we're talking about right here. Keep it simple. Just put Yak on the big man, put Scotty on the second biggest guy, and just do it from that way. That's what I'm saying right there. Yeah, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. Kaloy saying it's going to be hard when our 40 million a year guys aren't scoring double digits. Bobby will have some hard decisions. Well, we're just going to have to see everything in its right order. And well, right now we're in damage control and reacting to a game yesterday. We got Miami tomorrow, and that's the thing. We'll see what they do against the Heat at home in Scotiabank Arena when everything's still on the line and everything matters so much. Let's see if the urgency finally comes tomorrow, and let's see if the outcome is much better, because that's all we can do. Everything in its right order. I'm not ready for the postseason yet. I'm not ready for the off season. I mean, I say I'm ready for the postseason, but I'm not ready for the off season, is what I'm saying. Neil's saying, what I will recognize is the Raptors stayed in the game for 3 quarters. They did, for the most part, although they weren't playing correctly. And Jacoby said this himself after the game. He said, if we had played better in the first quarter, maybe we would have set things up better for the whole game. And that's true. I mean, you could say, yeah, they were close because the score was close, but were they really fundamentally playing very well? No. The Celtics weren't playing that great either, and they were hanging around each other. Trevor said, oh, this is a playoff style game. I'm like, no, it's not. These guys are not playing well, either team. And when one team finally takes off and starts playing well, they're going to win this game. And that was the Celtics in the fourth quarter. So it's like the whole game, neither team was actually playing that well. Let's just put it that way. We were hanging with them. Okay. It's the Celtics not making threes and integrating 2 players that haven't played a whole lot in the season coming back. Yeah. Both teams are not playing their best. That's not the best Celtics team right there. The Celtics can play way better than they did yesterday. And Celtics fans would be like, yeah, he's exactly right. That we didn't play good at all in that game, and we still beat y'all. That's what Celtics fan would tell you right now. That's right. Yeah. Stargate saying, I'm with you, Blackhawk. Not down on these guys. They just have to learn to be better. I'm glad you guys are taking the stance that I normally would take. This is a stance that I took most of this year, but this is the end of the season. We're on the last week of the year. And this is the time to show that y'all actually give a shit and really tune up to get this. That's why, in some ways, I flipped the switch, and I'm not as coddling and positive about them. I'm giving them a reality check that if they really want to be a good team in this NBA, they have to do things way better. They have to do things way better. I don't mind you guys doing this, though. And I like that y'all are standing up for them. Seriously, I do. There's not a versus here. We just have different approaches right now. We just do. G saying this, I'm down on them. Show some freaking pride. You got hit in the stomach, hit them back. Learning is one thing. Hating to lose is a mentality, and they don't have it right now. They ball watch too much. That's the thing. I mean, there was a game earlier this season where they lost the Nets, and their plane was delayed, and they didn't get into like 5 or 6 in the morning, and they had no sleep. And it was an afternoon game in Brooklyn. And they got their ass kicked, and they couldn't keep up with the other team. I was making excuses for them in that game. And some people will remember that game and say, well, Lex, you're saying this and this. Because people were saying, no, they're not trying and stuff like that. They say, no, they're exhausted. They have no sleep. They're absolutely tired. They played last night on a back-to-back, and they came in a plane, and the plane was delayed on the tarmac, and they had to sit at the airport for an extra 2 hours. And I gave them excuses, all crazy excuses for that game. A loss to the Nets on a back-to-back that was absolutely diabolical schedule making. And also, the reasoning for why. I'm like, well, they're tired. I gave them an excuse for that. I can't give them an excuse for this one yesterday. They didn't play Saturday. They were in Boston. They should have been rested. They should have been focused, and they should have had eye of the tiger. We're going to meet the challenge of our rivals. But they didn't have that. And that's the problem. And that's the difference between me standing up for them in a game where they were absolutely dog tired and played like dog shit against the Nets and fumbled a game against Brooklyn. But in this game, they didn't have the excuse of coming in on a plane late or being tired from that or anything like that. No, they should have been fresh, and they should have been coming in with the right energy. They should have been coming in with the right energy. Yeah. Let's see. Neil's saying, I would love to be Scotty's mental coach. I would remind him that player's career is 5 to 20 years, and he used up 25% already. Carpe diem. Man, 20 years is rare. Kyle Lowry recently did a little clip where he had to name all the players that got to 20 years in the league. And it's a short list, guys. It's only 12 guys that did this in the whole history of the NBA. It's like Kareem, Robert Parrish, Kevin Willis, Kobe, Dirk Nowitzki, Kyle Lowry, LeBron James. That it's a really short list. And, so yeah, tell Scott that even more. Like, say, yeah, you're probably not going to play 20 years. You'll probably play like 12 to 15 years. He's got to understand that. And yeah, he shouldn't be wasting his life. Scotty, I don't want you to be like Vince or any kind of way. Vince Carter is giving you advice. Don't listen to him, man. Don't listen to Vince Carter. Seriously, he's a horrible person to take advice from. Did he ever win a championship? No. And he played many years in this league. He was one of the 20-year players, but he didn't win a championship. You shouldn't take advice from him. He's probably likely to tell you to leave Toronto is the advice he'd tell you. And that's the thing, Scotty. I don't want to think that, you're going to play no offense for yourself in Toronto, play unselfish, and then go to another team. Eventually, God forbid that. I never want that to happen. And then blow up and score like crazy on another team like Vince did when he went to the New Jersey Nets. No, we don't want to see that, Scott. You better fucking start scoring on the Raptors while, playing for us. Playing for us. Yeah, carpe diem. Uji Bougie's here. Good morning to Uji Bougie. It's been a weird little spell here, and without quickly, our team seems completely off at times. I like seeing Brandon get to the rim, but his pace is still so lackadaisical at times. Last dude up the court. Yeah, I hate that. There's times where I worry about getting a backcourt because they're so lazy walking up the court and they pass it over to the guy who's coming across. Sometimes I worry the ref's going to be a hard ass and say, no, he's technically backcourt, and that's a turnover. I hate that kind of shit, and this is pretty accurate what Uji Bougie's saying here as far as like how I look at Brandon. He's amazing when he's aggressive and he goes to the rim and he's trying to make his shots. He's looking for his shots. He wants his shots. He's trying to score like he did in the fourth quarter last night. But where is that consistently throughout the whole game? And how much of the game is he actually on autopilot and sleeping and not totally engaged correctly to the right level of attention? That's the issue right here. That's the issue right here. And yeah, I'm glad that you're pointing out that Quickly's absence is having a factor on our offense right now. I think this is actually one of those places where you can make a case why Emmanuel Quickly is a very, very important player to the Raptors, because we see his absence is felt. Neil's saying, I would point out to Scotty majority of the time where he overshared and let him understand how he hurt his own personal growth. Man, I hope there's somebody saying this to him. Brian Macon could very well be talking to him like this. Hopefully it's one of the coaches on the Raptors staff, Darko himself. I don't know. There is a method to the madness of what they're doing with Scott. Darko does have a plan. He does have an installment plan of different challenges and things that he wants them to try and work on and accomplish to build the character of his player build and who he is in the NBA. And I think that he's gone about it mostly very well. I think that what's happening now is that there needs to be a shift and his point of emphasis right now from, you know, not necessarily all the defensive stuff or the passing, but to his own scoring. That at this point, it would benefit him the most if they really did work on him being selfish and trying to score more himself. It would benefit him and it would benefit our team too. Because I think in some ways, his default is so unselfish that you're not going to ever eradicate that. There's always going to be a level of Scotty's going to be passing. But if you really harp on him and say, no, you're not allowed to pass anymore, you have to try and score yourself as much as possible. Maybe he's still going to pass sometimes in defiance, but maybe the level and the percentages will be better because I feel like, they did a good job of getting Scott to concentrate on defense primarily in his first formative years in the NBA. It's very, very similar to OG Anunoby. And now, the passing stuff is stuff that he can just do on the side anytime. He's doing it vicariously all the time. But the scoring, the emphasis on him working on his own personal scoring and raising his scoring average, this should be the next phase of things, Darko. This should be the next phase of things in your long-term plan of creating the player that Scotty can ultimately blossom into his fullest potential. This should be the next part. I really do believe this. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Stargate saying, I saw G above make a very relevant statement. They need to get a productive vet, someone who just doesn't talk the talk, but is capable of walking the walk as well. It's so crazy because Brandon is clutch. Brandon can be that offensive carrier, that guy who can win us games. But there's something wrong there as far as his passion, as far as his drive to do this. There's a lack of Mamba. There's a lack of DeRozan code in some ways. In some ways, he's like, you can say Brandon works hard and does the gym, all this stuff, but there's a lack of will to win competition in him. And like I said, it could be he is ruined by New Orleans and then years of ups and downs and dysfunction and getting too used to losing. In some ways, that loss in New Orleans against the Pelicans was symbolic of, a lackadaisicalness of, I don't really care if our team wins or not. And you don't know how much that's programmed into the basketball DNA of Brandon because he was on the Pelicans for so many years. I don't want that loser shit from New Orleans coming up to Toronto with you, Brandon. You need to forget all that shit and those habits and that kind of mentality or that mindset that anything you did in New Orleans, because that was not a successful place. And if you're bringing any of that kind of baggage or that mentality or that philosophy with you to Toronto, you need to fucking throw that shit in the garbage and start over, because you can't have this kind of, Pelicans kind of aura to you. You can't have it in Toronto. You're a Raptor. And this is a difference that you need to realize and figure out how to do it right. You have to have more of a killer instinct. You have to be more like Kobe, your idol, and be like, yeah, I'm taking over this fucking game in the first quarter against the Celtics, and I'm winning this game for the Raptors today. That's the thing we need. We need you to have Mamba mentality and not have, life's good. I'm happy. I'm in Toronto finally. I'm not on the Pelicans anymore. Life is good. Okay, you're happy with that? Well, we'd be happier with you if you go above and beyond and be happier being successful. That's what we want to see right there. That's right. Neil's saying Darko definitely has to get on BI about getting up the court and with energy and being alert. Yeah, they should. In some ways, Brandon, in some ways, maybe they kind of pussyfooted around him a little bit last year, just kind of fed his ego. We're happy to have you here. We're going to get you healthy. But now he's been in games. Now he's been playing with us. He's been in the trenches with us. And in some ways, he's got to understand you're just like all the other guys on the team. And you know what? You're not free from criticism. The coaches need to come and tell you you've done something not exactly right and try and correct it. Brandon's been open in interviews after the games. We say, yeah, I'm not playing well. I haven't played well in this game. So like, yeah, okay, you said that. Do something about it. Do something about it. If you can recognize you're not playing well, then fucking play better. That's what I'm saying, man. You can recognize it. That's right. That's right. Stargate saying Garrett Temple may be able to talk the talk, but not really walking that walk on the court to show by example. What do you mean? Well, Garrett's a different kind of leader. He's not a leader on the court. He's not a leader by example, like you said. He's not got that ability as a player. He's a leader for maturity, for NBA rules, for NBA lifestyle. He's a leader to keep these young guys on the right path as far as not being knuckleheads. That's the kind of leader he is. He's not a game leader. He's not a leader in the game. In some ways, it's a moot point to even bring him up in this aspect. It's a moot point. Neil's saying this: Darko can send a message by changing the starting lineup. I think it's too late in the season to worry about doing that at this point. But, with training camp next year and battles and different things, nobody's guaranteed nothing. You got to earn your shit again. And maybe that's when it does. But it's too late this point in the season. We've ran things too much at this point to have 4 games left to try and do that. So let's see. G saying at Stargate, Hawks getting McCollum and Pistons Tobias and Duncan have been underrated moves. Doesn't have to be flashy in a star, just productive, show composure, leadership, and when needed, and experience. That could have been the Cole Anthony move. The rumors about us going to get Cole Anthony to add him to our team. Who knows? Maybe Cole Anthony was contacted and he said, I don't want to play for Toronto. Yeah, fuck him if he did say that. But yeah, that could have been Cole Anthony. You guys are agreeing with each other. Neil's saying, we need a villain more than a hero. I need a villain. I need a villain, and I'm holding out for a villain tonight. He's got to be Dylan. He's got to be Brooks, and he's got to come home. All right. We need a villain. Okay, Bonnie Tyler, holding out for a villain. The Tempo got their villain. We'll just have to see how Mabry sets the tone for the WNBA Toronto team. Yeah. More of the ladies are showing very happy to get drafted by the Toronto Tempo, but Marina Mabry has not shown anything yet. Her sisters have shown something, saying that they're happy for her, but she has not shown anything personally herself. We had more winning for our Toronto Tempo team already. We've had players for 2 days, right? 2 days now. What happened the first day of having Toronto Tempo players? Julia Lamont and Nina Milic went and got a Turkey League championship Saturday morning. Well, it doesn't go a day without winning for the Tempo because Christy Wallace and the 3-versus-3 Australian women's team just won a big tournament yesterday. So we got another Tempo champion. 2 days of having Tempo players, 2 days of Tempo champions in other realms around the world. Christy Wallace, 3-versus-3, Australia versus China. And China had the lead. China was kicking their ass. It was like 20-17 or something. And it's games to 21. China had 20. And Australia held them off and came back with like 3 baskets and won that championship. And Christy Wallace was a part of it. And she had an interview afterwards where she had the championship holding it. And she's saying, I'm so happy. This has been such a great weekend. I got drafted to the Toronto Tempo, and I just won this 3-versus-3 tournament for Australia. No, she's very happy to be going to coach Sandy Brondello in Canada. And Christy tipped the hat that she is coming, that she's ready to return to the WNBA. There may have been some questions about Christy Wallace and whether she would want to come back to the WNBA because she didn't play last year. She decided personally not to come to the WNBA last year. There's been years in the past where she could have came to the WNBA and she said, no, I'm not coming. But she said in that interview yesterday when she won that 3-versus-3 championship against China that she's coming. So we got confirmation from her. There's more and more people showing happiness about being on the Tempo, as I said, and they're posting stuff on their Instagrams, and we're seeing the enthusiasm start to build. I don't know if these young women know exactly how much they're going to be loved, exactly how special this is going to be. The only thing they can go by is maybe the Raptors and the Raptors Nation. Yeah, see what Scotiabank Arena is like for a basketball game for the Raptors, women of the Tempo. Understand that Canada comes towards basketball in a different way than other places. You may not have any idea exactly what y'all have walked into being expansion players for the Toronto Tempo. You better get ready for a rabid, passionate, very intelligent, ride or die fan base that's going to be there for you. The signs are all there. We're going to be like the Raptors fan nation, the Tempo fan nation. Y'all are going to play games in Montreal and Vancouver, and you're going to see that y'all are like the Beatles on the road. This is going to be totally different than what y'all have done and the teams y'all have been on already, whether it's the Sun, the Liberty, the Mercury, whatever team y'all have been on, Tempo. You're going to see this, and you may not exactly realize just how this is going to be. The Raptors know. They know the way they travel. Scotty and RJ, they know. Y'all are going to find out. And I don't know if you actually can understand this ahead of time until it happens, until you take the floor on Coca-Cola Coliseum. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel the love. It's going to be amazing. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Anyway, I'm getting all emotional because I'm like, ooh, I'm ready. Let's go, Tempo. Raptors will let me down. I'm ready to get behind y'all. And if the Raptors flame out for the rest of the season, well, at least I got the tempo to distract me and pick up the pieces and go forward with after that. So, yeah, Raptors, either way, you got a successful year. In some ways, I might be switching those gears real quick to get to Toronto Tempo land if y'all are going to fail out like this. Seriously. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. HC saying, damn, Lex, get rid of BI like that? You're really not liking his mental, eh? Yeah, I don't like this. It's fool's gold. He's such a prominent position in the team that you're, in some ways, you're limited by his capabilities as far as his mental wanting to. If the man's just going to be like this and sleep through life, he's not the man you want to lead you. That's what I'm saying. He came advertised as a student of Mamba, a student of Kobe. And in some ways, the connection to Kobe is not in the drive or the mentality or the compete factor. That's for damn sure. Maybe the moves, maybe some of the footwork, but not in the mentality. And that's the thing that's got to be rectified, Brandon Ingram, where you ruined from so many years in New Orleans that it's just something you can't figure out to get to at this point. Well, in some ways, I don't want you to be the main scorer and the clutch guy for our team if it's going to be a ceiling on this because of this kind of issue. Because it's fool's gold at that point. You might as well have Trae Young as your franchise player. It's fool's gold. That's what I'm saying. We're going to need him the most in the time when it really matters. Well, I want somebody like Jaylen Brown who's going to make a three-point shot in the corner with Scotty Barnes all up on him. Yeah, I want that. I don't want Brandon sleepwalking through games over and over again and taking big checks, and that's it. No, that's fool's gold. That's fool's gold. He has time to figure this out. Stargate saying Dylan Brooks and Common. We eventually get Common. See, there you go. There you go. That's thinking right there. I'm going to give Stargate a dunk. There you go. I was saying Nick Richards. Wait, what are you talking about? Go get Malawatch. Brandon Ingram for Dylan Brooks and Common Malawatch. Yeah, I don't often do this. If that pisses you off, Brandon Ingram, change things real quick. Change things real quick if that pisses you off. You got the 45 bus, Stargate. You got riding with Delano out of Rexdale right now. That's right. That's right. Yeah, Uji Bougie saying money would likely be Dylan and Nick for Ingram and TJD. See, that would work too in some ways. That would work too. I don't know. Some people would be say crazy. You're crazy. You want Dylan Brooks for Brandon Ingram? Hell yeah, because I know we'll win with Dylan Brooks. I know we will win with Dylan Brooks. And that chemistry with him and Barrett's already there from Team Canada. And I don't know. Dylan's already a passionate player for other teams. How is he going to be defending the North? Defending the North. Yeah, think about this clearly. And in some ways, think about how Dylan has elevated his game this past year to an all-star level. He could have been an all-star this year. In some ways, he should have been an all-star this year. Dylan Brooks. He could have been if they'd done the world team correctly instead of adding a couple Americans onto it in facetious ways. Dylan Brooks and RJ Barrett could have been all-stars this year. Both of them. Both of them. That's right. That's right. Smooth saying that Kings loss is looming large right now. Raptors have to go 3-1 and the Sixers 2-2 for Raptors to avoid the play-in, in my opinion. And in some ways, that is not up to us. That's somewhat up to Nick Nurse and the Sixers. And that's what I hate about this. DeMar DeRozan, he in some ways came back around and got revenge on us. It's not straight up in a play-in game with Chicago and DR DeRozan, but he still, in some ways, has derailed our season and what we're going to do. Is it out of hate? No, he loves us. He's just an ultimate competitor. He's something that we want more of in Brandon and Scotty. That's what it is. That's what it is right there. Yep. Jimmy's saying, I'm sorry, but when pretty much the whole team doesn't show the required effort, I can't pin it on one player or focus on one player. I mean, it is true. And maybe I'm picking on the two all-stars the most, but they're the leaders. And they should get the criticism that I'm giving them right now. Both of them. But yeah, I could go after RJ more. But in some ways, why would I go after RJ? Because everybody out in the Raptors land is going after them already way too much. You know? They go after Yak way too much today too. And in some ways, you're right. It's an overall team effort that wasn't exactly right yesterday. But I will also argue that the leaders set the tone and the other guys follow. So if Scotty's not putting that initial first effort at the start of the game to set the tone, the other guys are not going to follow. And that's the problem. And instead, he's wincing and holding his side. I don't know how bad he got hurt from that. And it may have been a very awful, mean thing that Kata did to him. Well, you go two ways. Either you crumble from the pain or you take that shit and you get pissed off. And that's what I was trying to say at the beginning of the stream. That's what you do right there, man. That's what you do. That's right. Smooth saying that BI take is different. Never thought about it like that, Lex. I'm just saying, man. I mean, what are we doing here? Our allegiance is to this. It's not to any one of them players exactly. Sure, we have a special relationship with people like RJ because he's a hometown hero and we'd love to have that connection for sure. But our allegiance is to this and winning and getting the next Larry O'Brien and doing whatever's next to help us get that. And, like I said, there's a lot of fool's gold players in this league. It's tough. You make a huge amount of money. It's real easy to get lackadaisical and not giving a shit about playing all out to win. In some ways, when the money wasn't as good in the 80s and the 90s, and the players they were playing for more pure, true competitiveness and caring. It is true. The league is more lackadaisical and soft because in some ways, they're getting their bag no matter what, guaranteed contracts. But back in the day, Magic and Bird, they were going all out and they're trying to kill each other. The way the NBA used to be played was so much more competitive and cutthroat. And there's way too many softies that are just collecting checks and living the NBA lifestyle at this point. That's why it's harder than ever to be a front office and sort out the good ones from the bad ones. It's so hard because in some ways there may be a certain percentage of actually guys that are actually hard-nosed and balling and really want to win, competitors. And there may be a higher percentage of guys that are just collecting checks and living the NBA lifestyle. How do you get that balance? How do you figure out who's who? And how do you get that in the right amounts so that you can be competitive? Because you're not going to be able to have a whole team of dogs that absolutely want to win. Can you? Can you build a team like that? Do you make your DNA of your team like that from where you build it? Yeah, you can try and do that. It seems like the Celtics do. So it's like, how do you figure out the guys that DeMar DeRozan has talked about publicly, saying half the guys in the league aren't trying to be here for the right reasons. They're not in the league for the right reasons. They're just here for the lifestyle and getting the money, and they stopped working. They made it. They're happy. They got the bag. They're not like me, putting in 70 games every year for 17 years and scoring this many points and being this high on the career points list. DeMar DeRozan is going to be in the top 10 of the all-time leading scorers in the NBA's history. You show up and you work hard consistently for a long, long time to do that. You have to work hard. You have to have DeRozan code. So who has DeRozan code and who doesn't? That's what I'm saying. And who's going to show up and play at the highest level of competition and not fuck around with their NBA career and just collect checks and be happy. That's it right there. That's it right there. Neil's saying Jacoby missing all 3 free throws is a sign of the pressure getting to him. That is why rookies need to practice free throws just as much as they practice regular shots. Yes, he's a second-year player. And let's not get it twisted. That Celtics arena is hard to make free throws in. That's part of the contributing factor to what it is. But the crazy thing was you saw his process. He missed the first one. He was aghast. And he really buckled down. And he thought he'd make the second one. Then he missed the second one. And then you saw the panic. And I thought for sure he'd make the third one. But then he missed that one too. This is crazy, man. He would have that back. He would take it back. Trust me, he would. Yeah, Stargate saying this. BI in this lineup is starting to remind me of Rudy Gay in the lineup, then just not fitting. There was some, maybe it was because he was new and we'd waited so long for him to come and play that, early on it seemed like everything was fitting well. But I think you're right. I think it's right. I think that Barnes and Barrett obviously have a really good, strong cohesion. Really, really work really, really well together. But the Ingram with Barnes thing is not totally clicking. Like, do we see them play off each other in a very powerful way where it really adds to winning for us? No, we don't. So, in some ways, that's an interesting comparison. You bring up Rudy Gay with DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry because we saw what happened with Rudy Gay, and we saw how much that was a catalyst for us to get into winning in the playoffs a lot back in the We the North era in the early days of Ujiri. Yeah, that's an interesting comparison right there, what you just said right there, Stargate. That's right. Cool Cat's here. Good morning to Cool Cat. We're always wishing the best and blessings and prayers for our good friend, Coach Cool Cat, who is in an important battle herself, and she is winning. And we want her to ring that bell and do better and better as she fights cancer. So, Cool Cat, good morning to you. We love you so much. And high five to Cool Cat and love for Cool Cat. I love that. And yes, WNBA Fantasy League draft will be 2 weeks from yesterday. So be there or be square. Be ready for WNBA Fantasy this year. Cool Cat's saying, it appears I have my Tempo pre-sale information mixed up. I got up early to get tickets for Angel Reese game and Paige Booker's game. My code is incorrect. It appears I missed the earlier dates. Laugh out loud. Well, if there's one thing that's happened with Tempo and their tickets, it's been confusing as hell. There's been delays. They tried to do this approach last year where any of the pre-sale ticket holders or season ticket holders, they wanted to personally reach out to each one. So it took forever. It took like months to do this. People were on Reddit saying, did you get your tickets yet? No, I haven't heard from them yet. They're going to come to us soon. I came to somebody. They told them that they got their tickets. What are they doing? And then we heard later that Teresa Resch is taking a very personal approach and doing them one by one for each person to make them feel special. Some ways, some of the decisions that the Tempo have made so far have not been good. And the WNBA is so bad at marketing itself in general. So there's some folly that's going on with the tickets for the Tempo. It's very confusing, and it should be just a lot more simple. In some ways, they've had it rough for this stuff. They really have. They should get it together. But I wish you luck getting your tickets no matter what. You need to be there. Yeah. Uji Buji's saying, I agree on Colin Murray-Boyles being Barkley-esque, but I also see a lot of young Ron Artest with the build and hands on defense. That's cool. I like that. I forget about early Ron on Chicago Bulls before he started changing his name, and he was really like that on defense. His hands were really, really good. And he just take the ball from people if they weren't paying attention. He just grab it from them and just outright steal it. Yeah. I like the Barkley comparison because in some ways in his face, if you really look at Colin, he kind of has like Barkley-esque kind of facial features. It's just he has a lot of hair, which is the big difference between them. And then you can also look at their bodies. It's a very kind of like round mound of rebound that Colin Murray-Boyles has. Like he has a very dumpy butt. And he's got more, his arm strength isn't really apparently there. Like his arms don't look big and muscular like Charles, but he's extremely strong. So these are the kind of things that I compare him to. It's like his physicality is very similar. His physical type as a player is very similar. And the other thing that's huge about what he has in common with Charles is that he has that elevator. It's like an explosive leaping ability that is like, you don't need a run up or anything. He can be 2-footed and he just jumps up and he goes up real high, real fast. That's part of the compensation for him being undersized at 6'7" is that. So these are the big things that I saw in him immediately. It's like, whoa, he reminds me of Charles Barkley. That's why I say that. It's not for all the offensive stuff that people will remember Charles for. It's for the hands, the grittiness, the strength, and the athleticism of being a very big guy who can jump really good. And we see Colin on breaks and in situations where he gets those left-handed jams. You can see how quick he can get up in the air and throw it down. And that's very Barkley-esque. Very, very Barkley-esque. Kaloy saying, exactly, Stargate. I'm getting a Rudy Gay vibe from Brandon. Bobby has some tough decisions. Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, in some ways, it's like, Brandon, you like being in Toronto. You love this very, healthy situation where it's like things are done right. You have to covet that. You have to work to keep a part of it. And if you're not going to be a correct part of it in the energy, well, you're not going to be a part of it anymore because we have a mission here. We're trying to do something here. And maybe your mission down in Pelicans land for many years was like something totally different. This is something different here. And you need to be up to the task and understanding the quality and the level that we're trying to do here. Because if you have all those gifts, you have all that talent, and you're able to do it, but you're not doing it, something's wrong. Something is wrong. That's right. Yeah. We're giving props to Cool Cat. I love it. Cool Cat saying this: the Celtics are a chip contender, so the L was expected. It was expected, but I didn't want it. I didn't want to take it. And honestly, we can be honest, the Celtics weren't their best. They were ripe for the picking. And in some ways, if we'd done things correctly and played more better, we could have stole that game from them yesterday. We could have. We know this. Yeah. What I wanted to see though was fighting spirits saying I deserve to be here. Well, another lesson for our young team. Yeah, real talk. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lesson. In some ways, these lessons were great at the beginning of the season and halfway through the season, but not at the end of the season. You're a work in progress for the whole year. You're building up to become better and better. And by this part of the year, you should be fine tuning a certain level of compete, and everything you're doing should be very, very good. And that's not happening with the Raptors. They're in disarray and they are not organized right, and they are failing when they should be executing and perfecting what they worked on all year long. This is part of the reason why I'm more upset about this game than any of the other Celtics games this year, is because we played them 4 times this year. We should have learned something. And by this point in the year, it's April, we should have be at a certain level of what we're doing for the postseason to be ready for it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Jimmy's saying BI is asked to do way too much. Literally the only starter able to create his own shot. That's not true, though. That's not true. He's not the only starter who can create his own shot. 4 of the 5 starters can, and Pirtle's the only one who can't. You know, Emmanuel can create his own shot. Scotty can create his own shot down low in the post, and RJ can create his own shot too. So that's not necessarily true. The thing is with Brandon is like, look, you can either be 2 things. You can either be the overpowering offensive weapon that's clutch, that takes us home by taking over the game and scoring consecutive points over and over again, like you tried to do in the 4th quarter yesterday, or you can be a supplemental scorer that gets your points here and there, but you're adding and contributing in other stat categories like rebounds and assists and steals and blocks. You can't be the one-dimensional scorer that you were on the Pelicans and just expect that to be enough. If you're that, you have to be overpoweringly good and be the leading scorer in the game and the guy who dominates the game scoring-wise and takes us to the victory. If you're not going to get stat stuffing, if you're not going to play hard on defense completely. That's what you have to do, Brandon. You're either all the way top-notch, dominant player, 30-plus points, hitting all the baskets when it matters and just killing the other team, or you're an all-around game and you're contributing in multiple different areas at once. Now, if you don't have the shot, if you come out in the first quarter and you don't have the shot for whatever reason, you can pivot to the all-around game and games and still help us win. And the best players in the league know this. The best players in the league know this, whether it's LeBron, Luka, whoever it is in the league, Nikola, doesn't matter. If they don't have it and they know that they're not going to be able to score as well and they defer to their teammates, they're going to go in other departments and they're going to get stats somehow to contribute to help to the win anyway. And that's what, in some ways, Ingram has got to rectify. He's got to understand that. He's got to understand that either you're going to be that overpowering 35-plus points, or you're going to be a balanced player that gets stats all around. But I would say this, your floor should be 20 points every night. You should have at least 20 points in every single game you set on the court. If you're not getting to 20 points, then you're underachieving. You are. I would say that. Yeah. Let's see. Smooth saying this, repeating the same mistakes in game 78 isn't good, regardless of being a young team. Exactly. This is a work in progress, and we want to see the progress at the end of the year on how we built up. Let's see. Laugh out loud. Without BI, we would be a solid lottery team. I don't agree with that necessarily. If Darko locked in some of these close losses, we wouldn't be in this position now fighting for our lives. All right. So you're turning and you'll put the blame on Darko. I mean, look, I can go around and give a little bit of blame to everybody. Sure, there's things that Darko have done that isn't exactly right, and we could have done better because of. And I think the big thing is he's not adjusting to things correctly in some ways, or making changes. And that goes back to what I was just talking about with philosophies for the team and what their philosophy should be and the protocols and the MO of what they should be making decision making through. There's some problems there. But listen, I don't think this is necessarily true. I think that we could have made a leap to a degree this year. Like if we had somewhat of any kind of player that's kind of doing the same thing as him, and it's not specifically because it's Brandon. We could have had Ben Mathurin on this team instead of Brandon Ingram, and he probably would have had maybe the same impact too. Seriously, it's not. In some ways, you can say Brandon's our savior, and sure, he's definitely a needle pusher that helped push us up higher in the standings. That is definitely true, but don't give him over too much credit. Seriously, don't give him too much credit. Too much credit. Yeah. Let's see. Smooth saying, especially when the goal is to make the playoffs and make noise, unless they're just happy to be there. No, I think that in some ways they're just happy to be in the NBA right now. It's not even that they're making a playoff spot, because if they coveted a playoff spot, they'd be fighting to keep it, because they're not going to get a playoff spot if they're going to do what they did yesterday. That's the whole thing. That's the drive. That's the urgency. Where is this Raptors where you say, look, we win today, we keep our playoff spot. We lose today, we're in the play-in. That should be enough to light a fire in their ass to play their asses off like there's no tomorrow. But there wasn't that kind of energy. These guys did not come out like that. In some ways, the Celtics had better energy and that kind of urgency than we did. And that shouldn't have been the case. In some ways, the Celtics are good. They're all set up for the postseason. In some ways, they don't need that win as much as we did. And that's why I'm pissed. It's because we should have wanted that win way more than the Celtics wanted it, and we should have went and took it. And the old teams that we used to have with Nick Nurse as a coach and Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet around, we would have. We would have, because those guys would get mad and they would want it. That's right. Stargate saying Scotty should not have been the point guard in this game. Not a good matchup for him to be the primary ball handler. Needed to play more below the free throw line offensively. Yeah, I can get behind that. I think that in some ways that may have been a problem last Sunday when we beat Orlando that way, and everybody got all into that, because ever since that game, Scotty's been shit. He has not played well the 3 games since the Orlando game. This has been a problem. Kaz is here. Good to see Trucker Kaz and Amit. So we have 2 of the final 4 here. Hello, everybody. Hello, Amit. Congratulations on getting to the finals of our fantasy league. You will play HC starting today, and it is the championship week, the final week of the season. And yes, we do play the final week in our fantasy league, even though it's all up and down and tumultuous. You got to really pay attention to win our fantasy league. That's right. Good to see Kaz and Amit in the chat. Jimmy's saying another thing. BI had success getting moving before he gets the ball using off ball screens. Darko barely does that anymore. Shit could be run better, period. Yeah. I mean, in some ways, I'm wondering too, IQ and Shed set up this kind of shit. In some ways, Scotty's just doing so much. Why doesn't he control things more and tell people what they should be doing and gathering them all around and doing this and that? I don't know. There's a lot of work being built and learned in the foundation of the rebuild, and we've got a lot built already, but there's definitely some stuff that's got to be torn down and rebuilt and kind of figured out for sure. Yeah, I like that you're standing up for Ingram, Jimmy. I do like that, but I am coming at Barnes and Ingram pretty heavy today. Both of them need my criticism, and they're getting it for their different reasons. So, hey, Scotty, you got to toughen up and stop whining and crying and just make your game be your statement. And Brandon, you got to wake up and just make us feel like you care more. Seriously, the level of how much you care about playing and doing well is questionable at certain points. It really is. Yeah. Fiercely saying hi to Amit. Smooth saying, seems to me Darko is in strictly in happy to be there mode. So is the team. Well, I mean, if we think about how they jumped from where they were last year to this year, it's really good. But in some ways, I get what you're saying. Some people are very critical of Darko in the post-game interviews because he's so happy-go-lucky and bright side, glasses half full, and not really coming in with negativity and putting down the team and talking about it more. He's had these moments where he can be like that. But right now, I guess in some ways, we got to understand also, just like Bobby's on the moon, well, Darko has a certain thing he has to balance as far as giving information to the press and talking to, and also what's going on internally with the team. And in some ways, he could throw them under the bus like Nick Nurse used to. in a post game interview and say, yeah, this person didn't do this and this person do that, like Nick used to do. But that can lead to toxicness. So there may be a real strategy to why Darko's more upbeat and positive in the post game interviews, because in some ways, he reserves the stuff that he's critical and going after them for behind closed doors to their face. And in some ways, the public and the press don't need to be privy to it. So I think that that's part of the disconnect that people may be not seeing, is that like behind closed doors, he may be very critical of them and saying all kinds of crazy shit to them, but he doesn't want to air them out in front of the press. Does that make sense? I think that might be what we think we see, but it's not actually what it is. Yeah. They're saying hi to each other. HC saying BI first year with the team is doing a very good job, in my opinion. Definitely got to get that losing mentality out of his head, but that's a mindset. Lots going on, but he's no Rudy Gay situation. Darko has said this too, that he looks forward to a full off season this coming up with Brandon and working with him to expand like what he does for the Raptors and integrate him even more. So he's already said this, that the plans are to figure out Brandon and how to use him on the Raptors better for next year, and to be more ingenious and creative with some of the stuff that Jimmy and HC are saying about Brandon and what he should be doing to be utilized better. So that he has said this, that he's looking forward to working with Brandon this summer to integrate him and make him more effective for the Raptors. So he's going to figure something out in the science lab for that. Jimmy's saying Darko does very little to help Brandon on his shot diet, very hard shots. Find out how to get this man easy shots. That's your job as a coach. Yeah, and he said that he has to do that himself. He's recognized this, and they've tried at times, but we also got to realize that the other teams are really, really coming up on Brandon hard, and they are very physical with him. And the other guys have also admitted that they're not helping Brandon get the best shots either. So the onus doesn't just fall on Darko and his schemes, but it also falls on the teammates of Brandon helping him to get going better themselves. They've said that. They've all voiced this. A few of them have said this. I think IQ said it. I think Scotty said it too, that, yeah, we could help Brandon get better shots by doing better to help him. I could see that. HC saying, been available and solid most times, but don't think he's experienced playing with so many different lineups in a season. Takes getting used to. Next year, we should see better. Wishful thinking. I like that you guys are standing for Ingram. Seriously. Because we need this in our fan nation. We need people that are going to come and defend people like Pirtle, Barrett, Darko, Scotty, and Brandon. Because in some ways, like, look, I may be saying constructive criticism, and maybe some of it's unfair. Maybe some of it is like, yeah, why are you saying you want to trade Brandon this summer? That's fucked up, Lex. I like that y'all are standing with Raptor Freak kind of like mentality, saying, no, man, we're standing up for him. We see the potential in him. He's had a good year. You're off base. And in some ways, the promise of him with the second year of the Raptors and developing more integration and fitting better is there. It can happen. I like this. I like that you guys are coming with this angle right now. I really am. I really am. Jimmy's saying, have we seen one pick and pop with Brandon and Barnes? I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, and we're getting mad at them not fitting. We're not even trying. In some ways that's true. So maybe a lot of the onus is on Darko to make the puzzle pieces fit in the puzzle better, as far as setting them up for success with a better scheme. I got this. And I think you're right. This is something that's been very seldom seen, is a two-man game between Barnes and Ingram. And it's annoying because it seems like there's a lot of fruit on the tree to be picked there. Part of it is maybe that they have alternating minutes because we were trying to keep one of them on the court at all times. Either Brandon's out there or Scotty's out there. And sometimes their minutes may not line up with each other as much, partly because one of them's always on the court. That could be part of it too sometimes. Medvedted saying this, Colin, Jacoby, Mamu were great. Darko should have just played them the entire fourth. They brought the energy and fight. That's what I'm saying. Read the room, read the hot hand, read the guys who are actually working and reward them. Give more shots to Jacoby. Let these guys have more minutes. If the other guys are ineffective or they seem like they're not trying as hard as they could, make an example of them and say, well, you're not playing as hard. Sandro's playing his ass off. He's going to get your minutes in the fourth right now. I love this idea by Medvedev. I think he's right. And this is classic basketball coaching kind of philosophy right here. Yeah, Nameless is here. Good morning to Nameless, the Italian plumber. Celtics blew them away when it mattered in the fourth. That's right. That's a professional top team playing serious, playing like a serious team. The Raptors aren't serious. They're not trying to do that. And in some ways, I'm like, why are you not trying to do that? Celtics toying with, hang on, I lost my place. I want to make sure I don't miss it. Celtics toying. Oh, wow. I just saw something in the chat that's very nice right here. I like this. It's a reward contract, though. Celtics toying with the Raptors and hit another gear we could not match. Exactly. Bryce is here. Good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. I was busy yesterday, so I didn't come to the chat. When I went to the Memphis game, I wore my Scotty jersey around Beale Street and instantly felt like an op. It was an awesome experience, though. Yeah, I was giving dirty looks to Orlando fans last Sunday when I went to the game because there were people wearing polo jerseys in Toronto down near the arena. I'm like, what is this? No, I'm glad you did that, and just be safe. That's all I would say. But yeah, y'all got the mission done. Thanks, Bryce, for going to the game on Friday night and helping the Raptors beat the Grizzlies at FedEx Forum. Thank you for going down there and doing what you do. That's right. Slug Deezy's saying this year has shown me Scotty is not him. Well, what is him supposed to be? Is him supposed to be the role that Brandon's supposed to do to carry us home and take the games? Man, Scotty's such an anomaly. He's such a weird player. He's definitely nothing like most of the players of his generation in the league right now. He really is kind of a throwback in some ways. Like Scotty would make more sense playing in the 80s or 90s. Trust me, because it would make more sense what he's supposed to do. But because this league is so versatile now and he's so versatile himself, in some ways it's kind of hard to figure out what he is exactly, right? Back in the day, there were roles and things figured out. And well, he probably would have figured out what his role is back then. And it could have very well been he's just a power forward like Buck Williams that got 15 points and 15 rebounds every game. You know, that could have been it. But he's also a high level passer along with that. And that's an add on after, not as important. But the bread and butter is he's a big guy who gets rebounds and post moves. And he scores like 15 to 20 and he gets almost 15 rebounds every game. That's probably what his build would have been if he played in the 90s. And he'd have a little addition of, oh, he's a really good passer on the side too. A great defender. You know, I don't know. It's maybe just, it's weird. He's a throwback. Fiercely saying our 3-point shooting has been a struggle for the past 5 years. Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't even want to bring that up. Now, the thing about Scott is he's super valuable because he is that anomaly, and he's the only player in the league that's like him, honestly, in a lot of ways. I mean, you could say Jokic and people are kind of like him, but it's not totally true. It's not totally true. Bryce is saying this. I really love seeing the boys in action. And let me say, RJ is a real dog in person. I want to travel to Toronto and experience a home game. Man, I'm so happy that you got to go to the game on Friday. And I'm glad you circled back and you're bringing the information about it now. Better late than never. It's all good, man. I'm very, very happy. I would love for you to come up to Toronto and go to a Raptors game. If you do, you let me know because I'd like to hang out. Seriously. I feel like I messed up because I didn't link up with UC. I should have. But we didn't get that together in the right way when UC we came for the 2 games this year. But if you're coming up, Bryce, I definitely want to hang out and meet you, man, if you're going to make the effort to come to Canada. Seriously, do that. Yeah. Iron Man FC's back in the chat today. It's good to see him. It's crazy how the new baby Shaq would have helped us so much in the last 2 games we lost. Watching Celtics and Kings out rebound us, and it's guys who didn't even have a team to play on a few years ago. Talking Precious and Kata, shaking my head. Bring me Reese now. I know it pisses me off. In some ways, I got to let that go. Bobby, I guess you should hire me. Come get the Raptors freak because I might be able to tell you, no, you need to do this. If you're not going to hire me, at least watch me every day and listen to me when I'm saying get Julian Reese on the team because I said this shit in November. Man. I said Julian Reese is a keeper. You need to fucking put him on the Raptors. Chucky Hepburn's hurt. Switch that 2-way from him and put it on Julian right now. Because seriously, I mean, Julian Reese, you see what he's doing for the Wizards now. He's an NBA player. I knew it then. I called it then. Seriously. Slug DZ saying BI is clearly not the long-term fit we were hoping for. Looking back, we may have been better off keeping the pick. for this draft instead of acquiring Ingram regretfully. I'm not doing any second guessing. Brandon is a success no matter what. Because, like I said, we brought him back from the dead, and him being in a place with his ankle and kind of dubious whether he's going to be anything in the league again. Well, we brought him back to all-star level. So this is a success with him either way, whether the fit continues to be a fit for us or not. Some people are speculating we can fit him in and make him work better next year. And some people are saying, well, maybe we shouldn't have gotten him and we should have the draft pick still. I don't value draft picks. Draft picks. Draft picks are a mystery box, and you can get something shitty in that draft pick, and it doesn't help you. Brandon Ingram's somebody who's a known quantity in what he does in this league. So that's the difference I would make. King of the classic cards, like DZ. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Jimmy's saying since the trade deadline, we are a negative with 11 wins and 12 losses. I hate that. Some of it is diabolical scheduling. Some of it is there was some ref hit jobs a little bit. There was also very much, you don't think NBA storylines from head office in New York are let's get the Raptors out of the playoffs and put them in the play-in, no matter how hard it is. We're going to try and do this. That there's outside forces trying to push us down that are unseen and unspoken, that are trying to push us down and hidden, an invisible hand right now of Adam Silver saying, put the Raptors in the play-in. What are they doing in a playoff spot? That shit's probably going on the down low in ways that you wouldn't even understand. And that may lead to that outcome right there. Smooth saying Trace Jackson Davis is a rim runner and dunker, and that's it. All due respect to him, but because he was in the Warriors system, he gets overrated. That could be true too. Although, watching his history with the Indiana Hoosiers and his potential for what he is and what he can do sometimes, I think what this is a classic case of a kid who never wanted to be a basketball player, kind of just fallen into a basketball career because of his body. He never really wanted to be a basketball player. He took to it very late. So in some ways, he's behind for that. And that may also set the tone of how much he actually really cares about being good. Because in some ways, that may not have been his passion. RJ Barrett, when he grew up, he was like, I want to be in the NBA, Dad. Well, RJ, if you want to be in the NBA, you're going to have to work very, very hard to do this, to be able to be in the NBA. Trace, he didn't try to be in the NBA until he was like in high school. And it was really because, wow, you just growth spurted. Your dad played in the NBA and you might be very good. Okay, I'll try it. And it came natural to him. A lot of the things that have come to Trace Jackson Davis have easily come to him because naturally it was easy. And in some ways, Indiana, his career is very impressive. I like what he did in college. And there's a lot of good stuff in that. But once again, some of that stuff just don't translate to the NBA. And it's really kind of a thing for Trace Jackson Davis to look in his soul and say, what am I trying to do with my life? I'm in the NBA. I have the chance to be something in the NBA. Do I care enough about it? Was this ever a passion of mine? Did I have dreams as a kid to be in the NBA? No, I didn't. So that's part of the setup for what's going on with TJD right now, is he's not like the normal NBA player that coveted being in the NBA his whole life. He's kind of fell into this because he has a natural talent. Does that make sense? So let's see. G saying this, smart money business shouldn't be announced, in my opinion. Not blaming Bobby. He was told what to do and say. Was not a positive message after a great start. Maybe I'm reading too much and the culture starts up. I don't remember him ever saying this publicly. I think that it's just kind of like we're all watching the salary cap situation, and especially the press, like Blake Murphy and Lewinberg and Michael Grange. They're very aware of our cap situation with the apron, and they were talking about it way more. I don't remember us talking about it as far as the front office openly saying this and declaring this, G. I don't remember this. I think we've talked about it all year because it's just common knowledge that you can see the books of the Raptors and their economic objectives could be underlying and seeing that. I don't think they actually declared, like Bobby came out and said something like this that you're saying. I don't think he announced anything. Did he announce anything about this? No. It's just that the press covered it and they knew the situation needed to be dealt with, and they did. And it was all Abaji and all that. It was that stuff. Yeah. G saying this, Masai always talked winning no matter what. Well, that is one thing that, yeah, I get it. In some ways, that may be the point by Fiercey earlier, saying that Masai would have had this thing going, like he'd come in and talk to them and give them a pep talk and inspire them or something like that. That may very well be true. that Masai pep talk could have gotten better results for the Raptors yesterday. Maybe, but we'll never know. And in some ways, that's Ed Rogers' fault because he didn't value Masai in certain ways, and they didn't understand how Masai may contribute to winning. That's right. Jimmy's saying, fact is, other teams are getting better and made moves and are going to be better next year. We don't want to get left behind. I'm never afraid of this. In some ways, once again, we should be more self-absorbed and stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. Every move that every team makes is not necessarily a win or a positive. Even James Harden can look like a positive right now, but it may very well be a net negative in the long run for the Cavs. So, I don't ever get worried about this. Other teams can do all kinds of stuff. The Knicks can make 500 transactions the whole entire year. That does not make me worried because we're getting left behind. This is not something. We're on our own mission. We have our own timeline. We worry about what we're doing. We control what we can control. And I never had this fear that, other teams are getting better than us or going past us. There's still only one ball in 5 positions. And you can't play more people. You can't do this or that. We can only worry about our own development and our own moves and stop worrying about everybody else. And any kind of worried about being left behind, that's in some ways, that's just an illusion. That's just an illusion. Say, they did this at the trade deadline. They did this and we did this and we just got Trace. It's just an illusion. In some ways, you can't say this exactly because, people were saying for years, Orlando's getting better and better. Is Orlando getting better? No. How are we getting behind Orlando? Because they got Desmond Bane. That's what they said last year. Oh, Desmond Bane on the Magic. Now they're going to be so good. Was that the truth? That's what I'm saying. So it's in some ways we can't gauge it by anybody else. We have to only worry about what we're doing in our own results and stay focused on ourselves and stay egotistical. In some ways, that's it right there. G's saying this, I'm more sensitive to it because Masai was fired for money. So my overall feeling from ownership towards the Raptors is to save money. We'll have faith they will invest at the right time. Yeah. And I get this. I'm with you on this. God money does not rule my world, but it rules Ed Rogers III's world. And that's a problem. Okay. So we got breaking news and somebody's come in here and this is Chiduzi Zedbergo 2422. Thank you for the subscription. He's saying the Raptors have signed Tyreek Key as per Blake Murphy. All right, let's go to the breaking news and see what's going on here. This is awesome. All right, let's see. No, it's going to be on here somewhere. No. Okay, this is Josh Lewenberg on Blue Skies. The Raptors are using their 15th roster spot to sign Tyreek Key, who spent the last couple seasons with a 905. Means the two ways Martin and Lawson won't have their contracts converted before the end of the season or be playoff eligible. Well, that's a fail there. I guess they could always waive somebody before the end of the season if they wanted to convert either two-way. But as of now, the roster is full. Okay, this is cool. I love this. I love this so much because Tyreek, well, as I just pointed out in my Raptors 905 stars of the year, Tyreek Key's the third best player for the 905 after Elijah and AJ Lawson. So this is great. He's toiled on the 905 for 2 years. He busted his ass so much. I said this a couple weeks ago that he deserved the contract coming up to the Raptors more than Markelle Fultz. And I'm happy he's going to get this, even if this is last week of the season. I hope they play him too. He could be very helpful. He's a good shooter, and he's an underrated defender. So this is awesome. I really, really like this. I'm very, very happy about this. Blake Murphy's added. The Raptors have signed Tyreek Key. Raptors often try to reward 905 players with extension 10-day contracts where they can. And Key's been a nice success story over 2 seasons in the program. He hit 40% of his threes over 2 years too. Yeah, he's a good 3-point shooter. With only 7 days left in the season, can't do a 10-day. So this is a rest of the season minimum for Key. Possible he gets waived. So Raptors can convert Lawson for playoff eligibility on Sunday. So the ability to convert Lawson to a full contract for the postseason is still there as we reward Tyreek Key for a fantastic man. This is so awesome. I'm so proud of Tyreek for doing this, man, and getting this right. And I'm so happy the Raptors did this. Seriously, this is great news. Thanks for bringing the news, Chiduzi. I appreciate that. Smooth Brown Man saying Scotty is trying to stat stuff with the assists, in my opinion. Well, he has focused more on that lately. And in some ways, there's good things about it, but
It's hurting his offensive game himself. And that's what we have a problem with right now. In some ways, Brandon is not as reliable as Scotty is, in my opinion, for scoring baskets. Scotty's a more reliable scorer. So in some ways, that you make him the number one option. Seriously, because he's more likely to make his shots, in my opinion, than Brandon is sometimes with the physicality being thrown at him. And that's the difference right there. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Some of you might not agree, but I do think Barnes doesn't care much about winning as he does personal stats for contract value. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I know that's not true. Now, the one thing that I will say that really bothered me in the summer of Twitch was Scotty. And this was something that I didn't want to really believe that kind of worried me, is Scotty's not a natural winner, guys. You know, some people are natural winners like Elijah Martin or Jamal Shed. You know, people that win at every level. Fred VanVleet is a natural winner, even though he's undersized. That's part of how he compensates for his undersizedness to be so good, is he's a natural winner. He won in high school. He won in college. He won in G League. He won in the Raptors. You know, Scotty played 2K and he lost all the time. We watched him play video games all summer and he'd lose over and over again. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, Scott. In some ways, I'm wanting you to be like Kobe and Michael and just be like ultra competitive in everything, like throwing garbage into a trash can. Oh, I'll make the shot from across the room. Bet you $100. You need to have that mentality of being like, I want to win at everything. I want to win at pool. I want to win at cards. I want to win at Uno. I want to win at everything. I'm competing everyone. That's Michael Jordan. That's Kobe Bryant. In some ways, that summer when we watched Scotty play video games, he took losing too easily. It annoyed the hell out of me. It's like I'm watching Scott play 2K, and it's a crunch moment, and it's very important, but they fail, and then they lose the game to the other team, and the other team is making fun of Scotty, saying, aha, I beat Scotty. He's in the NBA, and I beat him on 2K. And some nephew out there online is bragging about beating Scotty Barnes in NBA 2K. That shit used to piss me off on the down low, but I wasn't bringing it up at that point. I'm like, Scotty, you should have a winning mentality where you win all the time at everything you want to do. And in some ways, he showed that he doesn't have that when he plays 2K. He's too easy with taking losses on that game. And that bugged me. In some ways, I was like, all right, I'm going to put a pin in this. I'm not going to talk about this ever on the channel, but I'm bringing it up today because of what statement that Smooth just said here. Some ways, Scotty was too easy with rolling over and losing 2K video games, and he didn't get pissed off enough about it. There was only a few rage quits where he cut everything off all at once, whether it was the video game or the Twitch stream at the same time. Yeah, I don't want to think this, that, you know, you got a very, very talented, athletic, crazy NBA player, but he doesn't have that X factor that Elijah, Jamal, and Fred have, the winning factor. And maybe that's why you got to stack a bunch of winners like Elijah and Jamal around Scotty to have that winning factor around him. Because maybe in some ways, Scotty's not a natural winner. And that sucks. That sucks in some ways. If he wants to figure out and change this, well, he needs to build himself to the way that he can be, in the way that he can be a winning kind of player and a very dominant player. Yeah, I want to be wrong too, Reggie. I want to be wrong too. It's not that he cares about his personal stats. If he did, he'd be more selfish. It's about whether he cares about winning or not. That's what we want to worry about right here. G saying this, that the Atlanta Dream just traded and got Angel Reese from the Chicago Sky. Interesting. I wonder if that means Brittany's on the move. Isn't she on Atlanta Dream, Brittany Griner? You know, I know she doesn't have that many years left on her tank because she's been playing a long time in WNBA. But maybe Brittany Griner could be reunited with Sandy Brondello in Toronto. Maybe that happens this week, since Angel Reese is now in Atlanta Dream. Interesting. I love the breaking news today, guys. Keep it coming. Stargate saying Masai was too fired for money. Let's stop burying our heads in the sand. And as to why Masai was fired, he was fired because Ed didn't like that black man had so much power. Simple. Yeah. I mean, he got paid anyway. We can say that it was a cost-cutting move, but no, because he got paid anyway. That contract was guaranteed, and we paid him this year. Masai got paid by the Raptors this year. He just wasn't allowed to be around it. And yeah, I think Stargate's right. This isn't necessarily about money in Ed Rogers. It's convenient to say. this was about something deeper. This is about something deeper. I mean, you got to think about it. When Tannenbaum is in charge of MLSE, we have Giants of Africa. We have all kinds of social justice programs going on with the Raptors. That shit's gone out the window this year. Have we seen a whole lot of worthwhile community initiatives? Sure, there's some still there because that's an important part of the NBA, but it's not in the same level or motion like it was under Ujiri. And who knows, a little Trump head like fucking Rogers, piece of shit, he's probably thinking anti-DEI and anti-social justice and anti-initiatives, just like Trump is destroying things from the White House right now, including the White House. So it's like that action was partly what that was this was like Rogers mimicking Donald Trump and his destruction of the United States government and saying, yeah, let's get rid of this guy. Do we need both of them? That was his original argument about Masai Ujiri when we gave him the big contract and he called him with that ugly phone call and said, you're not worth the money we're paying you. He said that. He called him and said that to him. And in some ways, the rhetoric that I was hearing from Ed Rogers III was, why do we need both Bobby and Masai? We don't need both of them. And that's part of it. That's why. In some ways, he couldn't see the value in Ujiri because, as Keith Pelley said, we want basketball people to handle basketball things and not culture things. We'll set the culture, MLSE, Pelley, and Rogers. And we don't want Masai setting culture for the Raptors and the We the North. So they wanted just a basketball person to run the basketball team as head of basketball operations. And thank God it was Bobby Webster after the fact and not some new entity that came in that could have made things way worse, trust me. So, yeah, there's a lot to what Stargate's saying here. And it's a lot as complicated as like, yeah, he's a black guy and I hate him, just like Trump hates Obama. It's a little bit like that energy. Let's just put it that way. It's just a little bit like that. Yeah. Masai was fired for racial reasons, and that's a fact. So please stop the sugarcoating. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with them. G saying this, and so they didn't have to pay him can be a multiple things. They had to pay him still. That's the thing, G. He was under contract. He made $15 million this year from the Raptors, no matter what. And he didn't do a lick of work for us. You know that, right? His shit was his contract was guaranteed, and it ran out this summer. He's still under contract with the Raptors right now, and they're still paying him. They just didn't want him to be there. And see what I'm saying goes with what Stargate's saying better and gives you evidence of that better. He paid him to go away. He said, no, we just don't want you here. I know we're paying for your services, but you don't have to be here. You can go home. You're getting paid. That's what it is right there. And that may be part of the reason why Masai didn't jump at a new job is because he's going to go ahead and take the money he's owed by MLSC and Ed Rogers. He goes and takes another job. I don't know if he forfeits that money because he got a new job, right? So, there's a couple things happening here. Let's see. Stargate saying, I'm so happy she has an ownership stake in the Tempo. Simple to stick it to Ed and Pelly. Oh, you're so happy he has an ownership stake. Yeah. I mean, in some ways, it's like separate. Once again, Masai don't have to have anything to do with any of that. His heart is with the Raptors, and he still really cares about the team and the people around it. But in some ways, he doesn't have to worry about this. He has so many more things he can do that are bigger than basketball. Trust me. Yeah. Stargate saying, Lex, I look at it differently. As it is the end of the season, 4 games left. They are who they are at this point. Can't expect them to be all of a sudden something else at this late game of the stage. Yeah, but they have been something on different nights. So I'm like saying, can we consistently get the other one than the negative one? Like, what did we do last Sunday against Orlando? What did we do against Phoenix? What did we do against Detroit? And these games that we won, Oklahoma City. These are games that we won and went above and beyond, and that could be the version of the Raptors that we get. So it's like kind of like, can you guys purposefully find that version of the Raptors, the ultimate optimal version of the Raptors for this game against the Celtics? Because this is a do or die game that's really important. That's why I look at it different than you. You're saying, well, this is just who they are at this point. They can't change because this is it. But they've been bipolar all year. You know that. They've been bipolar. They've been both types of teams. It's just, can they get it together and show that they're executing in excellence, like the hitman Bret Hart, to get the win against the Celtics? Because they've shown the ability and the tenacity and the talent to be able to do this in certain games this year, like in Oklahoma City, like against the Detroit Pistons and beating them on a Sunday, a game that I went to. They can be this team. It's just that they didn't show up as that team yesterday. That's the difference. That's the difference right there. Once we accept that, we can look at the overall situation a bit different. I say we're bipolar. There's two versions of the Raptors, and the wrong version showed up yesterday. Does that make sense too, what I'm saying? Stargate's saying, we know the issues with this team: rebounding, three-point shooting, free throws, and to lesser extent, communication on defense seems to be also lacking at times. These are season-long issues. They've done better at different times and worse at different times, just like I just said. Stargate saying, some said something last night on Discord that I agree with. This team seems to be playing satisfied, as if they're better than last season, and they're satisfied with just that. Well, I hate that, because no team should ever be satisfied. That sounds stupid as fuck. You win a championship, you want to go for a second one. Nobody should be satisfied. There's no Snickers bar here. Come on now. Smooth saying BI too high all the time, man. See, I'm starting to worry about that, Reggie. In some ways, he looks a little, slanty, happy, like Scotty in the team photos. That's right. Neil's saying this. WNBA players come into tempo at the right time because the Players Association got them all players coming in the league a better contract. 66,000 to 30,000 is a big paycheck. Top player gets over $1 million. Yeah. Yep. The money's better. And that's why Christy Wallace and Maria Conde and people like that might be coming to the league this year, because the money's better. Yeah. Smooth saying, oh, he's reminding me. Yeah. Nick Richards got traded to the Bulls. He's not actually on the Suns. So Common makes more sense for that right there. All right. I'm at like almost 4 hours, guys. We're going to break the record for this year. This is going to be the longest stream of the year for sure. I don't have much to do for the rest of the day, so I don't mind doing this right now. Cass saying 2 first-round picks going to the sky for Angel Reese. Very, very interesting there. I will ask y'all not to give me any more comments, because I am way over time. I'm usually supposed to do a 2-hour show. We're going to do a double show today. Let's see. When Darko was hired, he tagged him as a developmental coach. Is he a good coach? Yes, very good. However, I think he is kind of having an issue with translation from development to winning mode. Are there really any times when they're not both the same mode at all times? Like, what is the point of what you're trying to do? You're trying to win, and you're developing the team at all levels, whether high level or low level. So I would argue that in some ways, all right, the whole idea of a playoff coach versus a development coach, that's different. It's different than a winning coach, because everybody wants to win. And honestly, if you're really telling the truth, everybody's in development all the time, even if they're a high level team. So the thing that we really got to test, and we don't find this out until it happens, is how does he coach in the playoffs? That's the test. It's not about whether he's a winning coach. It's about how does he coach in the high stakes of the chess game of the NBA playoffs. And that's when we'll test the mettle of Darko in that kind of coaching aspect. Sure, he's a fantastic development coach. We know this, 10 out of 10. You know, they came out with a study. Somebody on Reddit did a bunch of number crunching, went crazy like Samson Folk, and they determined that by looking at all the successes of the teams and how they do things, they ranked all 30 of the coaches for how good they are as coaches, if going by success as a coach, and not necessarily whether they're winning or not, just whether they try and set up plays and they get executed correctly. And Darko was the 11th best coach out of the 30. He was ranked 11th, and he was above Nick Nurse. He was above a lot of good coaches that were below him, like Rick Carlisle. So if you're going by that study that guy on Reddit did, he found, and when he looked at the stats, that Darko was the 11th most successful coach in the entire league right now. That's pretty good. That's top half, right? That's pretty good. Stargate saying, I said it kind of looking like a Rudy Gay situation in terms of fit. However, it is his first year, and he needs to get used to his teammates and figure out his role here as opposed to his previous teams. Yes. No, I think that was a great statement that you made earlier. In some ways, it opened my eyes and my mind to, like, you know what? This is kind of true. Is it that Brandon is duplicitous, like Rudy Gay was with DeMar DeRozan? Is he duplicitous? Like, in some ways, is like, or does he add something special and extra that we absolutely have to have? I would make the argument that may be true, and that he's not like overlapping with another player on the team like Rudy Gay did with DeMar DeRozan. I don't know. This is tough to say. It was an interesting name to bring up, and it did spark inspiration in my mind from when you said that, Stargate, for sure, for sure. Jimmy's saying 4-game win streak to end the season. That'd be awesome. I mean, they can make this up to me on Friday night. Oh yeah, they can make this up to me. You're gonna get swept by the Celtics. Do you want to get swept by the Knicks also? You got to stop that, Scotty. You got to listen to the Raptors Freak stream today and hear how we're talking today and understand you do have a redemptive curve still with 4 games left this season and the ability to possibly beat the Knicks in Madison Square Garden on Friday night. Yeah, that could make a lot change because it really is. What have you done for me lately, Janet Jackson? And well, we're looking at the last thing you did, and that was Celtics yesterday. So you want to get right with everybody. You can get right with us. You have 4 games to go. That's right. G saying, I have to say lots of smart, tactical, analytical, logical people in this chat. W chat. I appreciate that, G. I appreciate that, man. In some ways, we don't want to be the run-of-the-mill Raptors nephews crashing out casual network with hello and welcome, William Liu, and all these kind of people kind of going crazy in some ways. Sure, I crashed out a little bit at the beginning of the stream, but I thought it was warranted. The diatribe I went on for the first 20 minutes of the stream, I thought it was warranted. And I appreciate you recognizing this. And I appreciate everybody spending the time with me today. This has been a long stream. I really do appreciate it. Stargate saying, nah, fuck draft picks. There's not a good player. There's not a player coming to save you. Draft picks are devalued faster the last 10 years. That's why almost all the teams give them up so easily nowadays. Yeah, they're like Shim Sham. They're like crypto. As always, I look at it that way. People value draft picks so much, and I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, fuck that. I'd rather have a player that's already proven in the league that is more sure bet. Really, really is. And young players aren't coming to save anybody. Look at Cooper Flagg. Come on now. Who's coming to save anybody at this point? The way they talk about Cooper Flagg make you think that they would be in the playoffs this year just by himself. No one player is strong enough to do this in this league anymore at this point. In some ways, it's because it's a league of parity and it's not a superstar league anymore. It's more of a team league. Maybe this was true in the 2010s. Once again, the league was very different in the non-physical LeBron superstar era, where you could have a very good, powerful offensive player coming in the league, get treated like a superstar right away, and have a huge impact on helping the team be a top team in the league right away. But this league is physical. It's more like FIBA now, and it's more team concept. And it's more watered down that one individual player is not going to have the impact to do that in certain ways. Now, Concanipple is interesting because in some ways, could you say Concanipple had this kind of impact to make the Hornets do this? Yeah, in some ways. But we can't dismiss the fact of Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and even idiot LaMelo Ball having certain things that are adding to the mix in their own personal developments that are adding up to them coming up too. A lot of people put a lot of responsibility for the Hornets this year on Concanipple, and forget about the other young stars they've drafted in the last couple of years that have progressed and gotten a little better this year, like Brandon Miller. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Stop with the we need a draft pick obsession. I know. I'm with you on that. I'm totally like this. The draft pick in the women's game is way more valuable than the men's game. Yeah, I'm going to be excited about the WNBA draft a week from today. That's right. It's going to be going on a week from today. Fiercely saying Mabry posting a story with Rivers, but nothing in reference to tempo. Yeah, there's a story she posted yesterday of her and her girlfriend Rivers playing one-on-one outside on an outdoor court with the public watching. And they're just goofing around and having fun, but nothing on her profile about the tempo yet. It's probably very strategic with her and her agent that they don't want to tip their hat in possible negotiations for what this contract will be. I think that she's going to be on our team. If she isn't on our team and she does a Steve Francis, this might be really kind of fucked up way to start the Toronto Tempo's identity and what we're doing. We don't want to have our main player that we took in the expansion draft reject our team right from the start just because it's in Canada. I don't think she's dumb enough to do that. I feel like Marina Mabry is a smart woman, and that she needs to understand just how lucrative and just how smart it would be to come play for the Toronto Tempo. If she decided she's against it and somehow, some way she's on another team and unrestricted free agency, I don't know. That would be like talking to Monica and Teresa and saying, yeah, I'm not coming. You guys might as well not core me. I don't want to be on your team. And they have to go pivot. And then maybe that money's short up for crazy UFA instead. I don't know. Maybe there's a benefit to it if she rejects the tempo. But the signs right now are showing that she isn't going to, even though she's not outright showing acknowledgement of getting drafted to us. So we'll just have to see. Fiercey's giving me the Lexathon cutoff. Wow. Well, this has been a long time ago. Yeah, 1245. You gave me that one. It's like, yeah, it's 104 now. Stargate saying, well deserved for Tyreek Key. Congratulations. I love that too, man. I love that. Yeah. Slug Deezy saying, are we building an elite role player? That's not what Scotty is, though. I mean, would you call Jason Kidd a role player? Would you call Magic Johnson a role player? He's not an elite role player. He's an all-round player that can do anything to help you at any time to help you win. And that could be a block shot. That could be an assist. That could be a shot by himself. The thing is that, like, the thing that'll make this go away for you, Slug Deezy, is if Scotty starts hitting game winners and taking over games and getting us to victories, because he's just like scoring the last 12 points and dominating the game. We need him to do this. And if you see him do this, which he has the potential to do this because he has Giannis like skills, you'll feel better about this and you'll change your tune on him. You will at that point. Yeah, that's the word, elite. He's elite. He's definitely elite. Fiercely saying, you're on to something, Lex. Brittany Griner was the backup big to Brianna Jones and came off the bench for the Dream. She had limited minutes. Yeah, I mean, she has a relationship with Coach Sandy. They won a championship in Phoenix already. So there's a lot of history already there. And if Brittany liked playing for Coach Brondello, maybe she wants to jump the border and come to Canada. It's a much safer country to play in than Russia, Brittany. Isaac give me a cutoff, and whoa, he chopped the rabbit's head off and he's eating it. Yikes. Yikes. Mr. Quasimodo's here. Good morning. Would you consider this game the best one out of the others with the Celtics? No. And that's part of the reason why I'm upset about it too, Mr. Quasimodo. This is a good point. I actually thought about bringing this up, and I'm glad he brought it up at the end here. I think that the game earlier this year where Jason Tatum fouled to make the shot was the closest game we had against them. And that was like the second game against them, right? The one where Jason Tatum obviously did an offensive push-off to just barely beat us. That was the closest game. And I think that game was in like November. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, sorry for the comment. No, don't be sorry. It was a great comment. Clay Allen saying this. I think you need to put the right players with the coach. Darko needs shooters, and he doesn't really have that like Jacoby Walter. I'm with you. I want our shooters to show up. Grady Dick's been a huge fail this year, and that was his department. And I blame a lot on Grady. Blame a lot on Grady for this. We expected Grady to be a sure shot, and if he had been hitting his shot correctly this year, a lot of our problems this year would have gone away. So in some ways, a lot of this is Grady Dick's fault, guys. This is Grady Dick's fault. And as a secondary person, Battle. In some ways, I feel like with Battle more, it's like they didn't get the ball to him enough to really use him correctly. But with Grady, he absolutely has killed our three-point shooting this year, personally, himself, by himself, because that was his role. And he was supposed to do that for us. And he didn't do it at all in an effective way at all this year. At all, in any kind of way. And I'm pissed at Grady for that because he can't have a bad year like this. He really can't. Jimmy's saying this, something cool other than basketball. 4 astronauts are flying around the moon and a Canadian is on board, which makes them the first Canadian to visit the moon, even though they aren't landing. That's interesting. Yeah, I heard about that. There's some ugly Americans down south saying, why is there a Canadian on the plane or on the flight? You know, some dumbass people down there. Whatever. But I appreciate this. This is cool. I like this. And Clay's saying, no, if you look at the Thunder, they have a lot of draft picks. And for the Raptors, the only way we can have a championship team is by drafting and trading. We can't sign free agents. I don't agree with the way Sam Presti's done things. You know, there's a thing that Logical Raptors Fanatic and I talk about called draft waste. And the Thunder have got a lot of draft waste. The Raptors are very efficient. Everything we get, we take the best of. Colin Murray-Boyles, Jacoby Walter, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby. You know, that there's a difference in this. You can have a spray shot and just try and get a whole bunch and figure it out that way. And in some ways that has worked for Presti. But the whole key to the Thunder being good is the Clippers being idiots for Kawhi. That's the only way they become the team that they are right now, is Kawhi Leonard being a fucker and being an idiot and demanding Paul George. The Thunder don't win a championship unless Kawhi Leonard does what he does. And so in some ways, that's dumb luck. And it's just kind of like, oh, you're lucky that you got SGA because of Kawhi. So that's kind of the way I look at it. The Thunder are lucky that Kawhi Leonard decided to leave Toronto and go to the Clippers. And that's part of the reason why they got their great Canadian MVP. is really that. Yeah, long stream, Lex. You're a beast. Have a good day. I'm not even done with my segments, y'all. We got in a pickle yesterday because we lost the Celtics. So, Pickle Canadian. This is a great company to get some pickles made here in Canada. This is an Ontario company, and I've got the full sour dill pickles here. But yeah, if you see Pickle Canadian at your grocery store, obviously it's Canadian. It's in the name. But yeah, we're in a pickle now with our play-in playoff situation. So I figured, why not put on blast pickles? Because we're in a pickle. Yeah, Pickle Canadian. Support Canada. There you go. All right. Yeah, I have a couple more tabs that I need to look at real quick. We did the stars. We did the stars for the 905. I did Pickle Canadian. I did the Raptors Ritter of the Day. Let's do some birthdays real quick. Happy birthday to a former assistant coach for the Raptors, John Shumate. He died last year, unfortunately. Last February, Coach Shumate passed away. He was assistant coach for the Raptors in our very beginning in 95, 96 with around this. I guess that was the year of Daryl Walker, the second year of our team when he was assistant coach. He wasn't assistant coach under Brandon Malone. I think he was assistant coach under Daryl Walker. Alas, either way, we want to celebrate the birthday of John Shumate, even though he passed away last year. Another birthday of somebody who passed away last year. Oliver Miller's birthday is today, guys. Yeah, a Big O would have been, I guess he would have been 56 today if he was still alive today. But yeah, he died last year in March, and we got him on the classic card. Of course, we know Oliver Miller was an original Raptor in the first year of the Raptors, and he had 2 stints with us. And we love Oliver, man. He's historically just such a cool, big personality, and he has such an interesting part in the Raptors' history. In some ways, he was discarded to us in the expansion draft by the Suns because they had him, and he was albatross with his contract. And they're like, oh, like, get rid of him. And Isaiah took him, and he ended up being one of our best players in our first year of our existence as a team. So, yeah, Oliver Miller passed away last year of cancer, last March. And, yeah, rest in power, and we're recognizing you on your birthday today, Big O. And finally, one more birthday today. It's Kyra Lewis Jr., the former Raptor. He played for us for 1 game, and he scored nothing. But, yeah, we saw him recently this year in the G League against us on one of the teams. I forget which team it was. I think he's on Wisconsin Herd. I think he's on the Wisconsin Herd this year. But, yeah, happy birthday to Kyra Lewis Jr., whose birthday is also today. All right, let's do the classic card of the day. And, yeah, we're almost out of here, guys. Man, yeah, this is the longest stream I've done in a long time. But I really did have a lot to say about the Celtics game yesterday. I really did. Okay, this is a hard one. You know what? I don't want to do this hard one. This is too hard. We want to do a quick one to get out. Okay, we'll do this one. You guys should probably remember who this is. You know what? Yeah, let me see. Hang on. Actually, this one's too hard too. Let me get one that's really easy. Yeah, we'll do this one. This one's really easy. All right, y'all. Here's the classic card of the day. First person to write the full name answer will get the classic card of the day. This one's pretty easy. So get on it, Fiercey. I know you know who this is. So, yeah, make sure y'all are live so that you can compete in the classic card. If you're not live, you may not get it. So, yeah, full name answer. Ibrahim, the Pistons fans in here, is saying Detroit versus Toronto would be an amazing 7-game series. I like that you think we get 7 games with you guys. I like that. All right, Fiercey is in first with Josh Giddey. Yep, and she did come back and add the E in the name. Yeah, that's Josh Giddey on the Oklahoma City Thunder. And this is kind of symbolic of what we were just talking about a player that was overabundance of the Oklahoma City Thunder. They had to move him. And they got Caruso for him. So that was a very valuable switch for them. So, yeah, Fiercey's going to get it. It's only 50 points. It's too recognizable and too easy. I appreciate you guys hanging with me for 4 hours. Yeah, let's see. Josh Giddey. Yeah, I'm going to have to rest my voice. You ever talk for 4 hours straight, guys? I used to have a job for Budget Rent-A-Car, and I used to sit in a call center, and we do 6 hours to 8-hour shifts, and you had to talk the whole entire time. And when I'd go into work, it was like I was like a starting pitcher. I had to rest my voice because I spoke so much in those 6 hours quick on the phone trying to rent cars that I would be so tired at the end of the shift, and I'd have to rest my voice like a singer, like somebody that tours, like, Axl Rose for Guns N' Roses. You got to rest your voice, Axl. because you put a lot of work on it. Yeah, it was weird too because my throat muscles and my voice got stronger. And in some ways, I do that on this channel still, talking for 2 hours straight every day. It's like I'm working out, y'all, and you're a part of my workout. It's like I'm lifting weights with my throat. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Stargate saying people keep bringing up OKC when it comes to collecting draft picks success. So how are they going to keep all these players? I know that's what I'm saying. In some ways, it's like it has worked to a degree. But I like to say, once again, it's not because of the draft picks they're doing what they're doing. It's because of Kawhi Leonard and that whole domino effect from what happened, the Raptors championship, him leaving, him going to the Clippers, and him demanding Paul George for his team, and them trading to get Paul George from Oklahoma City and sending Shea to them. That's really what it is right there. Yeah. OKC's about to be gutted. It's going to be tough for them to keep their players. And, well, maybe that guy from North Montreal needs to come play for the Raptors because there ain't no money left over for Luguettes. So maybe Toronto gets Luguettes. And maybe that's part of the factor, like with Dylan Brooks. I mean, if we had Team Canada Catalyst, like a group in our team up here, a nucleus of RJ, Lou, and Dylan Brooks, I wouldn't be upset. That shit works on the international stage. I wouldn't be upset with that. Yeah, they can't pay all of them. That's true. They can't. They can't. All right, let's run it down and get out of here. 5 minutes to 4 hours. Jeez, crazy. My stars of the game in the loss to the Celtics yesterday, Jacoby Walter, Colin Murray-Boyles, and Sandro Mamukelashvili, my favorite stars of the game. Honorable mention to Jakob Poeltl. He's a man by himself trying to do what he can. Yeah, we did the Raptors 905 stars, and my number one star of the year for the Raptors 905 was A.J. Lawson, with a runner-up of Elijah Martin and Tyreek Key, who's the newest Toronto Raptor today. I'm so proud of you, Tyreek. Man, that's so awesome. I hope he actually gets to play. I don't want to see him just get the bonus. I want him to get a game and play in these Miami games coming up, or at least, if not, the Brooklyn Nets game on the last game of the season. Darko, give this man his NBA dream. He's never played in the NBA yet, and he's worked so hard for our team for 2 years. Let Tyreek Key make his NBA debut, and let him make some threes is what I'm saying. That's right. That's right. All right, y'all. I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with the crazy man on a 4-hour stream. And, yeah, Raptors, I expect more of you guys. The message here is of love. I'm constructive critically talking about you guys because I love you guys and I love this team, and I want y'all to win and do the best that you can. And if you're going to show up and give it not the full effort and you're going to get these results, well, I am going to come at y'all verbally on this show. It's just how it is. So listen to what I said. And if it bothers you, Scotty or Brandon or anybody on the team, change it and do something about it. The only reason why I say this is because I want y'all to be better. And as RJ Barrett has said this year, you guys are saying things that are fair. What you guys say about us is fair. And, well, I'd like to think that what I said about y'all today was fair. If it wasn't, well, prove me wrong and go out there and do better the next time. Let's go tempo. Let's go tempo. And let's go Toronto Raptors. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I got to go rest now. Ah!